Eastern White Pine.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday the 20th of June 2015. I'm your host, Dane Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp and Zachary Burgess.
Are you ready for 6 hours of podcasts?
Not that much.
6 hours.
Dudes, it's our E3 special. Welcome. See how long you... It's a feat of endurance.
Robert cannot endure that Saturday.
See how long you/we survive as we get through all this awesome, interesting, fun and interesting content.
Yeah, I admit, it feels like a better year than last year's E3.
Well, there's just more of it for a start.
Well, yeah, which is always a good thing.
More E3 than before.
In fairness, there's been so much to go through that I haven't actually been able to pay much attention to the sort of on-the-floor stuff, or the stuff that came out outside of the conferences.
I've got like 2 notes.
Yeah, me too.
Off the conference stuff.
So this isn't a comprehensive E3 experience, but it is everything that they showed on streamable
Well, we weren't there,
video
so
form.
technically we don't know anything about what's on the floor.
I guess, yeah.
We do, because others have
Half
reported
the
on
people
it.
there probably don't know half the things that are on the floor, because you can only see like a tenth of it.
Yeah, that's true. Especially if you stand in line for 4 hours to do one thing.
Indeed.
Well, it's time to comment on the cool stuff. Should we get going, or...
Are we doing our usual chronological plan?
Yes.
All right. So Bethesda kicked things off, like getting the jump on Microsoft's normal. We're going to go first, bitches slot by doing it like pretty much the night before?
Yeah, the day before.
Yeah, cheeky bastards. And it showed basically that they didn't want the morning slot that Microsoft normally have, or the sort of mid-afternoon slot, because they wanted to show some nasty shit.
I guess. But their thing can't have been on TV, right?
No, I don't think anything had a TV slot this time. Not even the Microsoft one.
So, it probably didn't matter.
So, Doom!
Yeah.
They started with Doom.
As you do, I guess. Doom. It's doomy, I wrote.
It is very doomy. They are deliberately trying to not be like modern shooters in a way, by making it fast, by making it strafe around enemies and shoot them in the face with a super shotgun.
This is doomier than Doom 3.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. They're going for the Doom 3 aesthetic, but they're not. But this is where my problems begin. Like, all of the enemies we saw, all seemed like kind of humanoid-esque things, whereas Doom 1 was like, that things were a bit more messed up by the time you had the flowing, what are they, the cacodemons? Yeah,
they're in the game though, aren't they?
I think they briefly showed one.
Well, they showed
I've seen a screenshot,
but even that had a skeleton on it and stuff like that. The flying thing they showed had like a little skeleton imp thing sort of hanging off it, because one kills them in the first bit of footage they showed.
No, that's not a flying thing. That's just the skeleton with the rocket packs, right? I can't remember what that thing's called.
Was that in there? Oh, because it was just flying skulls, though, weren't they?
No, you had the whole skeleton with like the shoulder-mounted rocket launchers in regular old Doom.
Oh no, I thought that stuff got introduced, or flying stuff became Hexen or Quake time, and like in Doom. I
don't think it flew in the old Doom. I think they upgraded. It used to just have rockets, but now I think it actually has rockets as well as rockets.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, the walking rocket guys. Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
my memory of Doom is starting to fade somewhat.
They didn't,
but like we're talking negatives here, but it looked damn pretty.
I didn't see. I don't know if they've just like redesigned or whether they didn't show, but they didn't really show the imps, like the brown dudes that throw fireballs.
No, they didn't. No,
or they've been redesigned so much that you don't recognise them.
I mean, yeah.
There was so much of them in Doom 3, wasn't there? Especially at the start. Yeah.
Them and the sort of zombie troopers were basically the staple. So my worry is that their focus on being all demons all the time actually removes some of the creative design.
Wait, what? But surely all demons means more creative.
Well, no,
but just make whatever the fuck you want. You don't have to have a human.
I meant by all demons, I meant all this generic, like
regular skeleton demons.
Yeah,
I guess.
It looked real nice though. Some nice effects going on.
It looks like the executions will get annoying after about 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, the demo they showed had some animation problems with those. There was like a frame of every now and then when they do them, there'd be a frame where the enemy would just disappear for a second and pop into the next frame where it's supposed to be.
Weird.
Like I noticed these awkward jumps in how those behaved.
Doesn't seem like a good fit for Doom, that execution kind of. I guess it's a bit like the chainsaw gun from Gears or whatever, right? I guess.
Yeah,
you
sure.
kind of activate it, and then if
Which,
you're
like, Doom has a chainsaw. So.
Yeah, which is now a super weapon, as it turns out.
But it'd be way cooler if the chainsaw was totally dynamic and you could just slash around. I guess much harder to do because. But if you could individually dismember limbs and stuff, so Soldier of Fortune style, I mean, why not? It's freaking 2015.
There'd be no point in doing that in Doom, because the whole idea is just to kill shit really fast.
I know, but it'd be cool because it'd be different every time.
That's why Space.
I mean, that's why I think the executions exist as a mechanic, because it seemed like there were certain attacks that could stumble the enemy, and then they shimmer. Yeah. And then that shimmer, I'm assuming, is what showed you could execute them during they would.
It just seems like a way to sort of conserve ammo or just get through things quicker.
Yeah.
Particularly for some of the bigger enemies, where maybe that shimmer thing happens at quite a high percentage of health, maybe depending on like if you're hitting a weak spot or something.
Potentially, yeah.
So you can just execute them and get it done faster.
Yeah, some of the hardier things, maybe that's the route you have to take.
Because obviously for the bigger stuff, it's a risk to close in that close to do the thing.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Yeah. So they could do interesting things with it, but
it will probably be really annoying.
Yeah, it might get quite tedious. They've eschewed modern health systems as well by going for a classic top up to a 100.
Yep.
Looking thing with a nice warning sound when it drops low, because it seemed difficult to tell when you were getting hit.
Yeah, the UI was like practically transparent. It was just like there's virtually nothing there.
Yeah, it was very small and very but when it is dropping, at least it all turns red and you get that ding 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 thing. You're about to die, by the way.
Although that was another thing that people were speculating might be annoying, that it seems like when you do the executions, that's how you make enemies drop more health and ammo.
It did look like that might be the case.
So it's like even if you wanted to avoid them, you probably couldn't. You'd have to do it in order to keep stocked up.
Yeah, because I think there was a lot in the environment. That enemies had just, like, I don't know, Borderlands style had just consumed guns.
Yes, the classic maneuver.
This health pack looks real tasty. Mm-hmm.
I think it looks cool. They've got their work cut out if they want it to be as fun as Doom 2, though.
Yes, true.
Like, I felt, at least
none of us really got into Doom. None of us really got into Doom 3.
Well, I had Doom 3. It didn't even. I mean, everything about how amazing John Carmack is at making like some of the graphics were really cool, but it had some performance problems. I found.
Well, I mean, at the time, it was kind of it was one of those like, okay, there are things in this that not many machines are going to be able to do.
Yeah, it's like maybe you want a specific graphics card that's most compatible with this to make it run best, and then Nvidia's going to release patches for it like several times for their drivers.
Didn't one of the if you wanted to run Doom 3 in Ultra mode at the time, it was actually kind of impossible to do that because there wasn't a video card available with enough video RAM to support that or something. Yeah. There was some real awkward detail. It's like, if you want to do this, good luck.
But the gameplay just didn't seem, because there were so fewer monsters because of technology, but also, other games have kind of surpassed it in terms of the gameplay.
I'm doomed.
But it was a bit.
Say that last bit again. I kind of missed it through coffee.
Well, for me, it was kind of a bit embarrassing that the shotgun in Half-Life felt so much better than the freaking Doom 3 shotgun or whatever. It felt awesome, and it's like, well, Doom should have the awesomest shotgun, clearly.
It was nice that they sort of brought back the difference between shotgun and super shotgun. They just called it super shotgun. It's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, admittedly, that's cool. A Quake thing, but still.
Well, I liked the Quake 2 Super Shotgun. Was freaking crazy.
Super Shotgun's amazing.
It was so cool, and it was cool looking as well.
It made probably the best shotgun noise.
Yeah, probably.
And then they showed some multiplayer and the map maker.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, the fact that they're issuing the game with that many tools, and they basically sort of... They tried very hard at one point not to use the word forge. I think he was like verging on it and was like, I'll just not say that.
But that's not even close to related to them. Why would he be even thinking that word?
Because forge mode, was kind of Halo's big thing. Like, we're going to put some stuff in the hands of players on consoles. And now Doom are going, well, everyone's going to get all these crazy tools. Suck it.
It's just modding.
Yeah, but it's going to be built into the console version, and there's going to be a marketplace for that stuff on the console version. That's all kind of cool. Admittedly, they then went on to say, "Oh yeah, you can invent brand new game types." The first thing they show is you can make a horde mode, and it's like, brand new.
Well, there's only so much you can do with a first-person shooting game.
Maybe. What I want to see is someone try and make Splatoon in Doom out of demon blood or something.
Well, yeah, that would be difficult if you could work out like the persistent.
Yeah, how to do that.
Yeah, work out that somehow.
But it looked cool. And like there was enough triggers and stuff to make enough like old school style Doom levels and things.
Make monster closets.
Yeah, basically. Snap Map was the name of all those tools.
Yep.
I thought it looked cool. It's
Did you see someone recolored one of the screenshots with the old Doom palette? Rather than the kind of everything is brown in the future palette of the game. They kind of put in all the like colourful red. Can I send it to you? Does that work?
It's not now.
I mean, you can. It might be, the message received sound effect might be heard by all the listeners.
Right. Okay, listeners, prepare for message received sound.
Message received.
Was there one? No, I didn't even hear it. Excellent.
You sent the message. Why you would hear it? You wouldn't hear it being received.
That's true. Message received. Yeah, check it out, listeners. Somebody, and it looks quite a lot better actually with the old color palette, I think. But maybe they'll adjust it prior to release based on this. Who knows?
And there's also the Cacodemons you mentioned.
Yeah, there's the Cacodemon. Yeah, look at that Cacodemon though. It looks just like the old ones, but like obviously properly modelled and stuff, and looking awesome.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. The old colours actually look better.
Great. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. Take heed. Take heed.
Take heed.
So that's they've got plenty of time, in fairness, to muck around with that stuff. It's not coming out until spring 2016.
Like a lot of things.
Coolio.
Yeah, so that was Doom. And then they moved on to Battle Cry.
Well,
which
sort of. They had a moment to talk about Bethesda Net, their BattleNet clone.
Yes.
Also, the left half of their screen was really flickery for some reason.
They had a slight technical issue on their set design.
But yeah, Bethesda Net. I mean, that's just BattleNet, obviously.
Pretty much, yeah.
Bethesda. As long as it doesn't turn into a store.
Yeah.
As long as they don't start trying to sell their games for it.
Best play. Or Doom Origin.
Yes. Doom Origin.
Yeah, so then they showed Battle Cry.
Yes, then they showed that.
Which looked like a poop TF2.
Yep.
They've got a whole studio named after this game that doesn't look like it'll be very good.
Well, I think they said it's free to play, so that kind of automatically made me think of Battlefield Heroes, actually, when I was like, that kind of weird third-person, slightly janky-looking action.
Yeah, there was something about all the motion just didn't look right. The way that they'd placed their camera angles and stuff didn't help it.
And also, it seems like it probably has quite a heavy focus on melee, and Team Fortress's melee is bloody awful.
Yeah.
I think melee has always been terrible in games like that.
It's something to do with online and melee, and the lag compensation and how that all hangs together just doesn't do games many favors.
No.
So if they get it right, fair play on them. But it's a rarity. If it's ever happened.
Yeah.
Blah. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm not holding that one in high hope.
No.
Yeah. So then they went to something that that leak
that we talked about.
Yeah, the announcement that they were going to announce Dishonored 2. Oh wait, hang on, we just announced Dishonored 2. So then it's like, oh well, we better actually show this then.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure they were going to show it anyway.
Yeah. They didn't show any gameplay or anything. It was a somewhat fancy looking trailer. But I don't know. You seem to be playing a lady this time.
Well, apparently you can choose between her and the dude from the previous game.
Okay.
And they are actually different. I don't know if it's like you switch between them during the course of the story or something, but they have different skill sets.
Okay. Well, if they had different skill sets, you'd imagine that maybe that would be a useful thing to do, or like maybe it's a GTA style mechanic. I don't know.
Yeah, potentially.
But they didn't really talk about that stuff in particular. It was just like, there's a Dishonored game.
Yeah, it's happening. You already knew that.
You already knew this. Have some footage. Be happy. And then the inevitable.
Yeah.
We knew they were going to talk about Elder Scrolls Online.
For some reason.
And so they did. and there was a distinct lack of any kind of crowd reaction while they were doing this. It was sort of like, yep, no one cares. They're basically just saying, yeah, we're going to be adding a ton of content to this. Making a big deal of the fact that it launched 5 days ago on console. Well, it was 5 days ago at the time.
Yes.
Yeah. That was it, really.
Yep,
here's a picture of a castle and some bluish skies, turquoise skies.
Here's some people dramatically running towards the camera.
Yeah.
Because that's what people do in MMOs.
That is the majority of what you see in MMOs is just dudes running. But there's more Elder Scrolls news.
Sure is.
What else?
Elder Scrolls is getting a CCG style game in the vein of Hearthstone called Elder Scrolls Legends.
Man, that's not the only Hearthstone competitor.
This is one of the themes of this year. Mobile platform CCG games are kind of a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, Hearthstone's freaking awesome, supposedly, isn't it? So,
I really should play that. I'm the one here with no excuse with my iPad and stuff. I should really try that.
It's like
the iPad.
My iPad, right? Yeah.
It's happened precisely again, where Blizzard got there first, and now everyone else is like, oh my god, and then they all just fail. It's just like World of Warcraft.
Yep.
Blizzard got there first, everyone else is like, oh shit, and then it's too late.
This is a really good... In fairness, you could argue that Magic got there first with their sort of reimagining.
On like PCs and stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't make it easy. They deliberately didn't make it easy to play online and have fun, in the Hearthstone vein. They did it on purpose because they were trying to make people buy the cards, and they failed to see that they could have made a fuck ton of money.
Yeah,
just like the MMOs again.
They didn't go all in because Magic's business model is on people buying cards, not on the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm hoping for in the Elder Scrolls card game, as someone said at the time on the stream I was watching, was you just need to have cards that reference the dumb things that people do. Like, I played a cheese wheel card. I played a house full of cabbages card.
I played the dagger card.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want.
Thing is, Wizards of the Coast could have taken that code, right? If they didn't want to make actual magic cards, so you had to buy actual magic cards, they could have just invented a new game. That's what that's what Blizzard did. They have all the expertise of designing games. They could have designed a totally new game, used all the knowledge they have from Magic, plus all the code they have from making Magic games that are really locked down, made it super online, and made a ton of money.
It's not that Wizards haven't made other games. They don't just make that.
They made the Pokemon game when that got popular. Sure. They were like, shit, let's make a ton of money off this.
I mean, you could argue that because Wizards have made all of their money in cardboard, maybe that's when they design a new game, it's like, what would be better than making a video game of this? Doing it for real. We'll make a mint. Yeah, this is a proper good game. Let's do it for real. So I don't know. For them, maybe it doesn't work like that. But it depends on how many. It depends on what the popularity of a modern CCG in real life actually is. Is that stuff dying slowly? Is it still as big as it?
I think Magic
used to be
is stable. I think because it's very expensive to keep up with Magic, and I think it's it's not as popular as it was. But I think it makes
you can still buy it from Waterstones.
Well, yeah, but I think that's for casuals, isn't it? Where you buy the the starter decks and stuff.
Yeah, or the pre-made decks.
That's to hook people in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they do the versus packs now, where it's like, here are the two decks that fought against each other at the last championship or something.
But I don't know how much money they make out of casuals. I think they must make the money out of the people who have to buy all the new cards in order to keep in standard or whatever.
Yeah,
because that must cost a fortune.
Yeah, or the collectors or something like that.
Yeah, although do they make money from collectors directly? Do you think Wizards, or is that a market unto itself?
That's a good question. I mean,
I guess you have to buy the card.
Yeah, so someone has to have got all the cards for someone to be able to build a complete collection. So it depends at what level they dive in. But yeah, that's a good question.
But I'm just wondering if the rarity of it is of cards, makes them I don't know, because you can't charge more for rare cards if you're Wizards, because, well, they just have a certain rarity, don't they? You have one rare card per booster, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Wizards don't get involved in that second-hand market, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So that the value added is all inside that kind of market, because for Wizards, every rare is worth the same.
Yeah. Indeed.
Anyway,
Elder
Scrolls.
Some card game.
They didn't actually really show the game or anything mechanically.
No.
Here, I guess it's kind of
anything about it.
Yeah, which is weird, given that they had a show where they didn't actually have many games in total to show. They perhaps could have spent time on it, because my God, they spent a fuck ton of time on this next thing.
Well, of course they did. The most important one.
Of course, Fallout 4 took up like half the show.
I was worried at the start when they just started showing a fucking giant pile of concept art for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like, uh-oh.
That took a while.
Are they actually going to get to some actual physical game footage at some point? But they did, eventually.
Well, yeah, they started with the Mario face sculptor, which is how you make your character.
That's not terrible. I mean...
No, it's such a cool idea. But it does mean we can't max face it.
Well, we could.
I mean, but there's no slider.
Well, you don't know. There might be.
Do you just push up on every body part?
That's probably a weird max face.
Yeah. So yeah, they that's how you sculpt your character in a sort of cool in-story section as well. I thought the way they did that was quite neat.
Well, I mean, it's just another extension of their tutorial system that they've done in the last Fallout game, where it's like, play through the tutorial while setting up your character.
Yeah, it's cool, and I like that they do. I always like that they do that. But this was a neat touch, and you can play as a lady now. Gender swapping,
apparently. So they did record 2 sets of voice samples. At least 2. Presumably only 2. I don't think they're going to do multiple voices.
Can't play as a dog. I'd play as the dog. What do you think about this situation? Okay, I didn't understand a word of that. Let's do this other thing. That'd be a very funny game. So Mario Face Sculptor, blah 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 blah. It looks they went out of their way to say it's a new version, but it is a new version of the old engine.
God damn it!
So they're still running Creation Engine, as they call it.
Gamebryo, whatever.
I think they called it. They called it the Creation Engine now. I don't know. Is it built on? Was Creation built on Gamebryo? I don't know. And in fairness, visually it didn't look half bad. There were elements to the faces and the character motion that still looked a little janky.
Well, yeah. The trouble is it's the stuff that you don't see as much because of the way they cut trailers, but it's just like the running animation of like running across the terrain, where you're just sort of like it doesn't react to the terrain at all. Really,
does he still sort of hover up hills? From what we saw, it looked a lot better in that regard. I didn't see any sort of like terrain hovering.
I don't think they really showed anywhere where that would have happened. He was always running along nice flat plains.
Yeah, like a road or. There was the bit though they were showing off the volumetric lighting, where he was walking next to a stream. I guess that was a bit
next to it. Yes, on a path that was mostly flat.
I guess. My note here says, not bad landscapes, characters and the dog look a bit odd at times.
Yeah.
It's got VATS. VATS is back, and it's the same.
Well, it's not quite the same.
Alright, what's new?
Well, it only slows down time, it doesn't pause like old VATS.
Oh, sure, right.
So that makes
it was very slow.
I don't know about very, it looked actually quite fast, considering, compared to pause, I guess anything was quite fast. But...
Infinitely faster.
But yeah, that seemed a bit like... And also it had the weird thing where it seemed like you were earning criticals.
Oh yeah, the little Pit Boy would appear in the bottom of the... Pit Boy? What's his name?
Pit Boy, yeah.
It is Pit Boy.
Okay. The thing.
Yeah, yeah.
The dude on the Pit Boy.
The bobblehead, yeah. Would appear at the bottom of the screen sort of toting guns.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
like you were somehow earning the critical and then you spend it in VATs, maybe?
No. I just thought it did that when you randomly got a critical.
It seemed like there was a bar at the bottom of the VAT screen that was filling up and emptying at certain points.
Oh, interesting.
So people would seem to say that was what that was.
Or maybe you build it up over time. When it's full, the next VATS use is going to be critical. So you have to time your strategy or something to be all like, all right, I need to get these VAT shots off to build it up, and then this last one I need to target something important. Or
maybe it's just like an equivalent of an execution or something. You earn it after a certain amount of time, and it's like this shot is just going to make them explode. In the classic Fallout version.
There will be some giblets you've never seen before.
And also, real Pip-Boy.
That was kind of cool.
Stick your phone in this plastic case.
It did look pretty cool. Yeah, the amount of effort they've gone into this second screen app.
That will only be cool if... Okay, well, firstly, that'll only be cool if it comes out on other phones than Apple's, because I don't have an iPhone.
Yeah, good point.
so that would fuck me from the start.
It won't be on Windows, will it?
Probably not.
Probably not. Be an Android.
Got that. And secondly, that'll only be cool if you can actually use the second screen without the game pausing. Like, if you can switch weapons on the fly using your second screen by going into your weapons menu and selecting a different weapon and have that happen in the game without having to look at your elbow for a minute.
Yeah, there's probably a bit of an internet delay, obviously,
presumably,
that all happens. But yeah, if they do that, and I imagine that's what they're gunning for.
I would hope so, because otherwise it'd be dumb. Like if as soon as you hit a button on your phone, it actually pauses the game, that would be dumb.
Either that, or it's like, when you're away from the game, you can be prepping your.
No, I really hope it's not anything to do with that. I hope it's not like a battle log or something.
Yeah. Or what was it? The Call of Duty Elite stuff. It's like, you can be making your loadouts and modifying your emblem whilst you're not on the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
that would be bad.
So what's all this house and base building crap about? Like, is that actually going to... I didn't 100% glean the point. I got that you could, but I didn't quite understand, why.
Well, it's just a thing to do. Yeah. That's the only reason. Probably...
they went so overkill with this system, though.
Well, it's not... Technically, they put it in Skyrim already. There was, a thing where you could build a house square by square type. It was in one of the DLCs.
Yeah, but with all the connected systems and the console to sort of semi-reprogram things.
Well, not that part, no. Not in Skyrim, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's just
that's quite insane.
I don't know, that's not going to be that complicated, I'm sure.
It's not going to be Buildcraft complicated, probably, or...
No. But, that seems like a logical extension of the Skyrim thing, and it's just a thing to do with all the loot that you're getting, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
Because, they also went on to say about, customizing your weapon and stuff, and how, now when you loot stuff, you break it down into parts, and then you need a certain type of part. The parts you get are split into different categories, this is the adhesive category, and here's various things that can be adhesives. And then you combine them to make a scope or whatever. So probably the base building aspect will just be, a way to get rarer loot, I imagine.
Maybe,
from the trade routes.
Depends if there's any other sort of benefit to it. Are you rebuilding the town where you lived, and are people going to be?
Well, they say that they say you get people when you can build shops. So presumably there'll be
okay. Maybe that sounds
a place to get stuff.
That sounds more pointful than I originally.
That looked pretty good, and obviously the weapon crafting looked ridiculous.
Yeah,
the number of different parts.
Yes.
But as always with that kind of thing, it's just you just min-max it. You find the one combination that makes it awesome, and then you just fuck everything else. It's if you want to make a laser rifle, you want most accuracy and most damage output. You don't worry about, you're not going to make a laser shotgun, because then you just take a shotgun and customize it to be the most shotgun-y shotgun.
Yeah. Well, it depends. You never know that. I guess I wonder if that's what projectiles if you do shotgun a laser for whatever reason and just make presumably a torch, then was there some kind of other benefit to doing that? Then maybe.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to remember whether the projectiles in Fallout are actually hit scan and it just does a cinematic thing in VATS, because I don't really remember whether they are actually, because obviously it's all dice rolls when you're doing the actual shooting in Fallout 3.
Oh, is it? I didn't
That's why the shooting in Fallout 3 is bad.
Oh, okay.
Because it barely operates as the first person shooting.
Right. It didn't look like that from what they showed.
No, but if the bullets are actual projectiles and it's not hit scan, then maybe there's a reason to have a laser shotgun because it's like faster projectile speed or whatever.
Maybe, yeah. Bigger range, I suppose. Yeah. Shotgun with range.
Potentially.
Clay pigeon shooting shotgun with lasers.
Yes, we'll see about that. The thing about like building and upgrading your weapons, like it sucked in Fallout 3 because what you did was like if you built a weapon out of junk, like you could get blueprints to make weapons. You basically just had to make multiples of that weapon because the repair system was like you combine two of the same thing and then it repairs it.
Okay.
So you just had to make like, I've made my special gun, but now I have to make 5 or 6 of them, and then every time I go back to base, I have to mash them together again to repair it or whatever. And that kind of sucks. I'm hoping like the repairs are now
just use the parts.
Yeah, use the parts.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Or like have a special case where it's like if you find a duplicate of this weapon, then you can break it down for special parts that are actually specifically tailored to repairing that weapon better or something.
Or maybe bits of the gun break and it's like, oh, you need to just spend your junk on making this bit better.
But if you have another one, you can like get a bonus repair by using that part of the other gun or something.
Potentially, yeah. Or maybe it will force you to like, oh, this bit is broken, you're going to have to go find another bit or something.
Maybe. Hopefully.
To try and keep you mixing up your guns.
Just as long as you don't mash 2 guns together and it makes a less damaged gun. Because that's always done. That's even done in Minecraft.
It's pretty dumb.
And then he says that they're going to fuck some shit up. He says to his dog, let's fuck some shit up.
He does.
Which was weird.
As you do.
Seemed kind of out of character, even for what little of that character we'd seen.
The dog seemed to know quite a lot of English.
Yeah, the dog seems to understand a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, go and get me that wrench, this one specific wrench that's miles away, and there's no way you could have seen what I was pointing at.
It could be a mutant data dog or something.
That's
or
true.
Some kind
it
of
could be like some high-tech Uber dog. Well, the thing about this dog is they focus so much on the dog, and like you get the dog and it's your partner, and you send it out and it comes with you and it fights things. The trouble with dogs in Fallout is they always die incredibly easily. So as long as this dog can't die in like one hit, like on every other Fallout game,
that's the history of this freaking idea. Like, it's what, like dogs? Fable 2, Call of Duty, Ghosts, wasn't it? Which one had the freaking dog?
Well, Fallout's always had dogs.
Yeah, but not like this, where it's like an explicit like companion. Your companion. Well,
that it was explicitly a companion in Fallout 3. That was the companion system.
Yeah, but
and probably in 2 and probably in 1. I don't really know about those. But the dog has always existed.
The dog's a thing. Yeah, dogs are a thing. Specifically Alsatians.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically that one type of dog.
Yeah, they're always German Shepherds. What's the deal with that?
Oh, German Shepherds. Sorry.
No, same thing, isn't it?
Pretty much.
I don't know dogs.
Pretty close.
Poodles. I want cube cut.
If you can have,
I want a cube cut poodle to follow me.
If you could actually have different dogs, that would be new and innovative for a Fallout.
Yeah.
It's like, I found this other kind of dog. Fuck you, original dog, go away.
Hey, my Pomeranian is fucking dangerous. I've played Tokyo Jungle.
You just want a dog launcher.
Yeah.
Just firing Pomeranians like puffballs. Like, you could probably shoot a Pomeranian out of a t-shirt cannon.
Yeah, you could probably shoot a Pomeranian out of the stupid rail launcher thing that they use for the nukes in Fallout.
Yeah.
Just put a dog on there.
Like a chihuahua, and it will bite your neck off.
Like the mini ninjas.
Damn right. No one's going to be able to shoot a chihuahua. Like, it'll land on you, rip your neck off, and it's so small it will just run back to you.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't show all that much nukes. They showed obviously the story nuke at the start, where like you're going into the vault and there's.
Oh no, there was one shot where
there was one where he used the mini nuke launching thing, but not as much as because the thing about Fallout 3 is fucking like every car wreckage on the side of the road has a fucking nuclear reactor in it, so you shoot it and then goddamn nuclear explosion.
Oh yeah,
there's like nukes all the time.
Yeah, maybe they backed away from that. Or maybe all the cars are already exploded.
Yeah, well, you would have thought that they all would have already exploded in every one of these Fallout games. Like, one nuke, you would have thought would have set them all off.
Yeah, I was about to say, if they've been blasted around by the nuclear explosion anyway, Shouldn't they be already kind of messed up?
There shouldn't be any fuel in them. Surely everyone would have scavenged it or whatever.
Am I right in thinking that this game looks like it goes bigger with the cities? Like the cities seem in relatively good nick compared to what I remember from Fallout 3.
What everyone's been saying about it is that, like, story-wise, there is actually a logical reason why the Boston area is less fucked up and, like, there's more surviving civilization and more rebuilding and, like, bigger cities and stuff.
The original nukes didn't really hit it as bad.
No, it was like they had this scientific institute called the Institute, and supposedly they had some amount of force field technology just before the war, so they semi-protected the area. Supposedly.
It's a good excuse.
So we'll see. But obviously the main problem is, like, if they can make the cities more fancy and bigger, but how many people are there? Because that was always the problem with Fallout. Not very many people in supposedly populated areas.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Even if they were less populated in Fallout 3.
But they're all in the brothel. Behind the closed doors. So
yeah, I guess I'll have to play this now, because as soon as it was like that goddamn crafting and base building, I was like, shit. That's what I want! I want fancy crafting!
You want Minecraft in your Fallout?
Yeah, exactly. I want them to be able to program turrets and shit, I guess.
This is starting to sound like the game's custom made for Zach.
Yep, got it.
Perfect.
And the shooting might be better, so bonus, I guess.
Yeah.
Although inevitably I'll just be crouch walking and vatsing everything, because that was just how I always play those games. Even in Skyrim, stealth.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how the NPC animation was kind of clunky in the way that it always has been. It's like a Fallout standard or something. It's like if they made it all super realistic now, it wouldn't be Fallout anymore. So you've got to keep the kind of slightly weird, uncanny valley movement of everything.
I mean, the lip syncing looked a lot better than it did in previous games. It looked a bit. Well, I say a lot better. It's not like it's groundbreaking or anything, but it looks like they've caught up with Mass Effect.
Yeah. And they've started to slightly loosen up the framing. So it's not quite so hardcore, square on, lock in.
Stare at your face. This is a very erotic moment. I need to stare deep into your eyes. Yeah, so it's a bit more style to it. So yeah, November 10th this year.
Yep.
This is how you do a reveal, right? This is like they. I mean, it's not that far away. And Fallout 4, we didn't really have its existence confirmed until like a week ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're like, bang, bang, bang. Here's all this stuff you can do. Here's all this great.
There's a whole ton of information.
Here's all this great new stuff you can do in this game. By the way, it's out this year, not next year, as everyone was predicting.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. It was good show, Bethesda. You did well there. And also, we're not done because they did that Fallout Shelter thing, which is another example of, oh yeah, we made this management game about managing your vault and stuff. Oh, by the way, it's out.
Well, it's not exactly much of a complicated game or anything. It's just like
it's
free-to-play mobile tapper game.
But, you know,
not really tapper.
Even so, they were like, that was something. It's like, you've been working on this in secret. It's out now. Ha!
Also, only on iPhone.
Yeah.
Goddamn Windows Phone, goddamn!
Someone will emulate it soon.
Yes, it'll be running through a Game Boy emulator somehow.
Yeah. So yeah, good job, Bethesda. But watch out, Microsoft, hot on your heels.
No, okay then.
Okay then, what was there more?
No, I was just like, that was weird. I thought you were going to do slightly more summing up of Bethesda than like, watch out!
Well, I thought they put on a pretty good show. It was a bit slower paced than I think we're used to from the press conferences and stuff like that, because they were focusing more on the detail of their games, not necessarily plenty of games. Which might have been weird because I don't know, are Bethesda publishing Mad Max or any of that stuff? I don't know if that's them or.
I think Mad Max might be Warner Brothers. Maybe.
Might make sense because I think Avalanche is making it, and Avalanche normally does stuff for Disney. But then Avalanche is also working on Just Cause 3, as well as Disney Infinity. Avalanche are fucking everywhere.
Well, that's probably just another, like, goddamn Biosoft situation.
BioWare. Yeah. BioWare is actually nothing anymore. BioWare is many different teams doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Yes, that's probably what's going on. They're probably starting to, and they always try and, when they have a studio whose name is known, they make a little mini spin-off studio that just had like a city name attached to under the actual name.
Yeah,
Avalanche London.
Yeah, something like that. 2K Marin.
So yes, Microsoft, I guess.
Microsoft, yeah, yeah, and Bonnie Ross opened it.
You know what the main important thing to note about Microsoft?
Yeah.
How many times they said Epic?
They did say Epic a lot, yeah. At least they didn't say experience that much.
No, that's true.
They kind of dropped that this year after 2 years of everyone noticing they say experience a lot.
So it wasn't an Epic experience.
No, they say Epic a lot.
Yeah. In fairness, Epic's been a buzzword for like all of the big companies for a while now.
I guess. I didn't notice it nearly as much as with Microsoft, though.
No, that was...
Or at least, particularly at the start of this press conference, when they were talking about Halo.
Well, like,
Epic.
So, yeah.
Epic.
I kind of expected Phil Spencer to walk out to open things as he normally does, but no, he handed over, like, Bonnie Ross had the, was it Bonnie Ross? I've written Bonnie Ross, but my head is saying, are you sure that wasn't Kiki Wolfkill?
I don't know.
Can't remember. But yeah, so they launched with Halo 5, showing off some campaign stuff. So
showing off ODST guy. He's back.
Yeah, Buck is back, which is cool.
Which is dumb.
Nathan Fillion in action. He's now a Spartan or something. Yeah.
You can't just become a Spartan.
Well, Agent Locke became a Spartan.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't really know what happened yet, I guess.
It is weird, isn't it?
Any of these cases.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, because the whole idea of the Spartan program is like from childhood and you go through all this regime of stuff.
Yeah, and they're genetically modified and... Yeah.
Maybe it's just propaganda. Maybe they're like, Master Chief has suddenly the name of Spartans, but now we've got these other types of Spartans.
Now we've got actual human Spartans. Yeah. Perhaps that's part of it, because part of the storyline they said had Buck going, if we do this, we're going to be hated, like because they're hunting Master Chief as being a potential rogue agent now.
Yes.
So some of the interesting things, or maybe slightly weird things, are that there seems to be a focus on having your squad about.
Yes, 4-player co-op.
Yeah.
But no split screen,
no local split screen. That is a weird, because and their reasoning was basically, they came out, it's like, well, because we can't get this running at 60 frames per second in split screen, and it's like, that didn't matter in Master Chief Collection, it's just fine, it doesn't have to run at 60 the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's a bit disappointing that's not going to be there, because that's at least put a nail in the coffin of Zach and I ever co-oping that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm going to have an Xbox One ever, probably.
No.
I guess maybe at some point it could happen.
And there's the vague hope that maybe they make PC versions at some point, but they never do that with Halo, really.
And it won't be cross-platform even if they do. So.
No.
Well, actually, I don't know, maybe it will, because that does seem to be something they're subtly suggesting in some cases.
Yeah,
that there might be Windows 10, Xbox One cross-compatibility.
We'll come back to that, yeah. it looked good. It looks visually great. The way it played did seem to look a lot like how the multiplayer beta that they showed off earlier played. Even with the ground pound move and everything. I
think the problem with that demo of it was that the guy whose perspective they were looking at didn't really do very much.
No.
He was just telling other people to do things, and then they do it in sort of the peripheral vision of the viewer as he was just looking at something.
Well, yeah, this is the other thing to mention. There were squad controls and things like that. You could tell people to do things.
Were there squad controls? Because it's like
he specifically told one guy to go heal something.
Yeah, but it looked like there was 4 people on the stage playing it. So it's like, is that just like a voice command, and then does the player then have to go do it?
Oh, I don't remember there being 4 people on stage.
I think there was, which would have been weird.
I think they said it was 4-player co-op, but they were showing it single player.
I don't know, maybe. You shouldn't have to tell them to heal someone anyway. You should automatically do that.
Someone should go pick them up. The Gears of War system did that quite elegantly, whereas at the end of a combat scenario, the AI would just go in and automatically go pick people up and stuff. Yeah. But then they showed something slightly odd, they're introducing a new multiplayer mode, which I'm not 100% sure I fully understood what the hell was going on, called Warzone, which seems to combine PvP and PvE style game modes. So it's like 2 teams of Spartans facing off whilst the entire map is overrun with Covenant. It's like, what's going on?
It's basically a combination between like Titanfall and a MOBA.
But it looked like the Covenant weren't actually fighting for anyone. They're just there fighting for themselves to be in the way.
They were just neutral creeps.
Yeah.
And then you shoot them to level up, probably. I hear.
Really?
I hear there is some amount of like you shoot the neutrals and then that gives you a bonus of some kind.
I assumed maybe it would be some sort of fight for who could kill the most. Like the actual scoring was based on just general kills, and
that could count as well. Like Titanfall, and like grunt kills, or whatever.
And that like maybe the flow of the map is actually controlling certain areas of it, so you have the capability of killing more Covenant. Something like that.
But yeah, it seems like there's a thing that you have to protect. Your team has to protect, and then the other team has to try and kill it in a MOBA style.
Yeah, who knows exactly what that is, but it could be kind of crazy.
It could be very crazy. Might be too crazy.
I said it was 12 on 12.
Yeah, and plus the Covenant.
Yeah.
It's like, that might be a bit nuts, unless the map is quite large.
It would have to be, right? Presumably, well, no, I was about to say, maybe they've pulled on some lessons they learned from Titanfall, but like the actual Titanfall was nothing to do with them, so...
No, and also Titanfall was actually quite small.
Yeah, comparatively. Yeah, interesting. I'm still hyped. Still hyped for Halo.
Yeah.
Even if it is going in a wildly different direction, still hyped for Halo. Well, I say wildly, it's still got Prometheans.
Yeah.
And the Guardians appear to be those big things we saw in the reveal trailer.
Yes, it's still got quite a lot of Halo-inness to it.
Yeah.
So you mainly hyped for the single player then, or?
Oh yeah, I'm always hyped for the single player. Yeah.
Well, who's Rob going to play it with? I mean...
Yeah. That's the problem. If the game doesn't stand up as a solo experience, then Bungie, not Bungie, 343 and me are going to have some words.
Yes. Or Bungie. You can tell them to come back.
I'll tell Bungie, hey Bungie, what are you doing over here? This Destiny thing isn't working out for you.
Apart from it apparently is.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Well, I don't like it, so it's not working out for me.
No.
I am the voice of FPS.
No split screen. Oh.
Yeah, I think that's a bad move.
Yeah, they've had that.
Especially given the game is co-op focused, it's stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
When did they have that feature? For like 10 years?
Since the original.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the first game that doesn't have it.
It's the way of the world.
And then my notes just have a reference to they had this in between each of their things where they had their exclusive thing where they'd show a bit of text that says exclusive or whatever.
World premiere.
Yeah, so I just have in my notes it just says exclusive premiere.
Exclusive premiere.
It's like, okay.
Maybe that means it's a world premiere of a console exclusive game. Yeah.
It's both of them mashed into one. And that was...
So they introduced it as produced by Keiji Inafune, of Mega Man and presumably Mighty Number 9. Is it Mighty Number 9 or Mighty Number 8? I can't remember. Number 9 is Number 9. Fame. And it's like... So he's working on Mighty Number 9 as well at the same time. He's been funded a great deal of money to make this other thing.
Well, it seems like Mighty Number 9 might be mostly done by now. Or
maybe.
The majority done.
Yeah. Oh, and he's working with, presumably, remnants of Retro Studios, because it says Keiji Inafune and the makers of Metroid Prime.
Yeah, which was weird. For a Microsoft press conference, I guess.
I think it's Armature or something.
Yeah,
is the studio.
something like that.
Yeah. I didn't make a note about that. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be some kind of... Well, I'm actually... Who knows how that's going to play, but the world is like deserts, robots with giant spherical cores that seem to hold their essence, and you can transfer those cores to other robot bodies, and they're still that robot.
Here's my amazing note for this one, which I'm surprised no one else picked up on. It just says, Recore, Knack? Because it's basically Knack! You have a tiny robot, and apart from in this one, like, its base form is the sphere, and then you plug it into different forms and it gets bigger. It's basically Knack!
Maybe. He can't, like, just attach the environment or weird objects that he finds in the environment to himself.
Or you find wreckage of robots. Because that's the environment.
Find other robots.
I don't know.
And it did look like you built up a crew as well.
Maybe.
Unless that was just indicative of all the robots you could have.
Yeah, potentially. If you find more cores, maybe. Yes. So that was my prediction for that.
Let's hope
it's not as terrible as that.
Who knows? It could be cool. It's always nice to see something new, especially at there's a surprise reveal at E3. It's like, ooh, what's this? Could be interesting. Yeah, and then my next note says, "Here comes Phil. What's on his T-shirt?" which was like inconveniently covered, so I don't think he ever revealed.
He did right at the end.
Oh, did he?
Well, towards the end. He didn't do it as a big reveal because it was really dumb.
It wasn't like Crackdown this time.
Well, because what was on his T-shirt was the Rare logo, and you could tell from the little bit of it you could see from the top of his open shirt.
Yeah, I saw the gold. I remember seeing the gold bit, but it looked spherical to me. So
it's like the slightly curved Rare logo.
Okay, gotcha.
And then at the end, he just had it unzipped. He made no reference to it. It wasn't like a big reveal
he never does.
When the Rare thing happened. It was like well after the Rare thing happened. It's just like, now I'm wearing a Rare T-shirt.
Okay.
What the fuck?
He never does though. Like, when he walks on stage wearing a Crackdown shirt, like a year before Crackdown 3 was actually revealed, stuff like that.
Sometimes it's not a reference to it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I immediately thought, what's on his shirt? Something yellow.
Yeah. Turned out to be not that interesting.
No. But he did have some pretty big news to drop, which nobody, I think, expected them to actually do, or even thought that it was possible, given
what we've talked about quite recently.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we talked about it on air, but
we might have.
Yeah, the Xbox One is getting Xbox 360 backward compatibility.
Amazing.
It is quite.
It's
really,
quite a feat. I didn't think they'd do this. I mean, I don't really understand why, because that must take a whole fuck ton of effort to get that working. And like,
well, sure, because the 360 is effectively power PC based.
Yeah, I mean,
like not x86, so that's a significant architecture change.
No, it's totally crazy. And they're doing it, like, from what I've read, they're doing it, it's not like on a per game quite basis like the Xbox compatibility for the 360.
No, apparently it just works. Like, the publisher just has to say, yes, put our game on the service, and it's there.
And yet somehow they still only have like hundreds of titles, which is like, why?
Presumably they're only the ones that have been allowed so far.
Well, yeah, but you would have thought more than that would have been allowed, really. I mean,
then how big was the actual library in total? I don't know. Like, because can they actually say anything more than hundreds?
They're asking people to vote on the ones they want, right?
Presumably, so they can then
Microsoft are anyway. Asking
presumably,
people.
yeah, so they can then like bully the publishers into being like, look, seriously, people want this game. Can you just greenlight this, please?
Guess what's at the top?
Because the risk with this is that some things won't turn up like that because publishers will be all like, well, we want to remake it and make our money that way. They are effectively trying to stop the whole remake or HD re-release market by saying, well, you can still play it. There's not a great deal of point. If they're fully remastering, then fine. I'm still on board with that. But yeah, it kind of perhaps reduces that market, and maybe some publishers don't want in on that. What they didn't, I haven't seen anything for definite on this, but they talked about 360 on demand, and what a part of what I really want to see actually is live arcade. Like,
well, yeah,
presumably that stuff will work.
If they're emulating the whole of the 360, basically, it should theoretically be able to run the old arcade games.
Like, who doesn't want to play Res HD on their Xbox One?
Yeah,
that's my question.
The question is will they open the store up so you can buy those? Presumably they will. So, like, on-demand games from the 360 store will just be visible in the Xbone store.
Maybe.
I would hope they go that route. The way they said it worked is actually kind of interesting as well, because it sounds like in order for this to work, apparently it needs to have the disc installed to your console. Like, so you put the disc in, and basically all that does is unlock the download by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Isn't
that how the... No, that's not how the Xbox 360 backward compat worked, was it? No, it didn't download stuff. Oh, it downloaded
a patch. Yeah, so it knew how to handle it effectively. The emulator in the 360 needed a bit of info about how to actually run the game. And it would grab those as it needed them. Whereas in this case, it sounds like it's actually just downloading the entire game to the Xbone, because the Xbone doesn't run anything off the disc.
Right.
But then, in theory, that means once it's connected to your account, does that mean you have to put the 360 disc in to play it? Like, do the old rules still apply, or does it unlock it on your digital account? Yeah, I'd imagine it will all work the same way. Which, again, for the live arcade stuff, would be extra convenient if it all just turns up in my library and I can be like, Pac-Man is still good.
That would be extremely cool.
Air.
But it still seems like, I guess it takes time to do these things, but it seems like the backward compatibility has like less value the further you go from launch of a new system. Surely that's the thing you want right on launch so that you can convince new people that already have done a game.
I don't know. I think you, to some extent, you might be trying to convince people who are still hanging on to the previous console
right
at this point.
Yeah, what it's
like
for.
Picking up the last few stragglers.
I mean, what was it? We're nearly 2 years in, and the console pickup isn't 100% because the 360 PS3s did so well.
Yeah.
In terms of like getting them into houses, they're now looking for like, okay, why haven't people jumped on board yet? And maybe this is one of those reasons because it's like, well, there aren't that many games I want to play on Xbox, and it's like, well, now there's every game I can play on Xbox, or one less box I need under the telly to stay happy.
Yeah.
My 360 could go somewhere else. Apart from the fact that all of my save games obviously won't transfer because, like, unless they come up with some ingenious solution of doing something with cloud save,
or putting them on a stick and having that function.
Yeah, if I could move my 360 stick and just plug that into make a memory stick of my 360 saves and just plug that into the Xbone to transfer them, let's say. That stuff is all a little unclear. My thoughts are they won't go that far. Because they've done what they need to do, really, to make people happy. But still, that's a cool thing. Like, given that, I'm not sure, as I say, Zach and I were unsure that we talked about it on air, but just last week we looked up, like, there was an article about this is how far Xbox 360 emulation is going. It's not pretty, but stuff is starting to work. They're making more progress than people are trying to emulate the original Xbox. And then Microsoft comes out and says this, and it's all like, yeah, we've done it. And it's just like, sorry, what?
Okay. Suddenly they turn around and it's like, well, it was doable after all.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. It is. I mean, it doesn't really change anything for people like myself, where it's like, well, I've got my 360.
Until it red rings, then you'll be good.
Yeah, until it red rings again. But, yeah, surprising. I don't think anyone expected that. The only thought I've got here was like, oh, so then they didn't figure out how to do the OG Xbox then?
No. Well, that'd be funny if they emulated the OG Xbox inside the 360.
Yeah.
Double emulate.
That'd be really funny. Because that's what I really want. Like,
you want to play actual Burnout 3.
Yeah.
Not the re-release.
Not Burnout 4. As much as I like Burnout 4.
Well, guess what's at the top of the list of the people are voting for?
Paradise?
No, Red Dead Redemption, obviously.
Oh, shit, yeah.
That's the game everyone wants to be like ported to some kind of system so they can actually play it.
Yeah.
Get it on PC, goddammit, and then I wouldn't have to have this backward compatibility nonsense. Anyway.
Yes. It's cool. It's neat.
Also, Halo Reach as well is a really good game.
Yep. Growing Wild. Well, there's still a chance that Reach might end up in Master Chief Collection if they're DLCing the other Halos in.
Yeah.
But it's not Master Chief, so it doesn't.
Well, neither is ODST.
Neither is ODST. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So that name
they're just
is
making
a
it the Halo Collection now.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
So there's a chance Reach will turn up, I guess. But yeah.
I really like Reach. That was a good game.
Reach is a good game. Yeah. And it struck a nice balance that perhaps some of previous Halo hadn't quite got right every now and then. But it was pretty much good all the way through. Yeah. So then, keeping on the theme of other weird stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
They showed off the Elite controller, as it's become known, which was... their new wireless gamepad isn't actually like just replacing the old one. They've actually just made a whole new version. A whole new weird extreme edition.
Well, presumably there is the new one.
Or is that they are replacing the regular ones?
Yeah, the one with the two headphone jacks and all that.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that was... I misunderstood. When the new one got announced, it was all like, oh, this is what everyone's been talking about, is it?
No, I think this is like another layer. This is like the hardcore controller.
Yeah. Which...
Because it is literally...
Frankly bonkers, yeah.
It's got all the ridiculous,
So it's got extra paddles on the
switches
back.
And limited throw and...
Yeah, I don't know quite what the paddles are meant to do. Are they meant to replace the bumpers, just be an extra place to push?
Basically, people who play Call of Duty in like hardcore tournaments or whatever already mod controllers like that with like paddle switches on the bottom. It's because they're like really low throw switches. Yeah. So it's better for doing, and then you're not moving your thumb off the sticks or whatever. You're pressing extra buttons with your normally useless fingers. Obviously, that's why it's like that. So basically, this is just the official version of a modern controller.
Yeah, I mean, there are some
these
things...
ones. Did they just replicate the existing buttons, or do they add buttons in the sense of?
I don't think they add functionality.
Well, it's sort of not really specified, is it? Because you'd imagine there's going to have to be some amount of configuration at some point, like, unless they are just exact duplicates. But then surely the whole point of the Elite thing would be, well, like, what if you want it on your third finger instead of your second finger? Because that's how you play with your special modded controller.
Yeah, it is a good question. Presumably, like, the controller would have to have some knowledge of all that stuff. What would you want to configure it per game? Like, will the games end up just being able to detect it as a different controller and supporting it? I'd imagine that is where they go, but games would have to not design for that controller.
Yeah.
They can't make it so they expect these 4 extra paddles.
Definitely not.
Because then you're in trouble.
But it seems like they are emphasizing you can use it with Windows 10, obviously, so it seems like if it had a nice driver, at least on Windows, you could configure the little paddles to do whatever you want, or whatever.
Sure.
So Steam controller style.
Apparently it's pretty fucking expensive, though.
Yeah.
I imagine so, yeah.
It's like 140 quid.
What?
I think. Is that
really?
Is that 130?
That might be dollars.
No.
So,
yeah, but
even then,
there's no official UK price, but yeah, it's ludicrously expensive.
Okay, that's crazy. Because it had one thing that I saw in that video that I was like, this appeals to me for many reasons, and that was the fact that they showed, the sticks can be replaced.
Yeah.
Because after I burnt through the rubber on several of them.
Well, you haven't seen how bad the Xbox One sticks are yet. You haven't burnt through those.
Yeah, they're doing all right so far.
Yeah, so it's $149 or 130 quid, according to Game.
That's insane. That is actually insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought fight sticks were expensive at like 100 quid, for...
Yeah, they are.
But that is properly insane.
It's pretty stupid. It must be
like getting one of those then.
Yeah, probably not.
You're not hardcore enough.
I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm actually just quite happy being medium core.
Maybe they'll drop the price when nobody buys it, because who's going to buy that shit? Oh well.
I didn't want to call myself softcore. That sounds wrong.
Exactly. You don't want to be called hardcore or softcore, really.
I mean,
medium core is the only safe option.
Hardcore has multiple connotations. Softcore
also has
just obviously porn.
Well, it's the same connotations as hardcore, just the other end of the scale.
What? Weak core. Dumbed down core. Yeah. Talk more about Fallout 4.
Well, not really, because there isn't much else to say.
But that's what they did.
Apart from Fallout 3 is coming with Fallout 4. So you play both of those epically long games.
Did they say that just Fallout 3, or was it New Vegas and all the other gubbins?
I think they only said 3, but that remains to be seen whether they do package, like, if it's like might be a Fallout 3 Game of the Year collection, but I don't even know what's included in that. Like, how many of I guess only the Fallout 3 expansions are different from the other games that were technically Fallout 3,
sure.
Like New Vegas and whatever.
Yeah.
But then more importantly than that...
but there's more!
Yes, more importantly than that, mods on the Xbox version of Fallout.
Yeah, that was the thing they wanted to push here, was like, oh yeah, we're obviously modding has been real important to us, after they just made everyone pay for it for a brief moment in time.
That wasn't them.
That was Bethesda. Bethesda and Skyrim. They were the first to get on board.
Technically, it was like, I don't think that wasn't the Fallout people like that.
No, it wasn't Fallout, no. But yeah, even so, they were like, modding is real important to us, and a bit of me is just like, for your bank balance at one point. But yeah, so they're adding it all for free to Xbone. Who knows how that'll work? Presumably they'll need some sort of mod system in their own game to somehow...
Did they say free? I don't even know.
I think I said free.
Okay.
bloody hell, we've just been delivered sustenance.
That's not going to keep us going. A huge ton of Haribo is not going to be sustainable. Not that we don't appreciate it.
It is highly appreciated. Because it's actual Haribo. It's not like Morrison's own brand.
So do you just want to take a handful here and just stuff it in your face?
Yeah, I do.
That's not going to work well for this podcast.
What do you think about that, Zach? Depends if we start talking like the children from the Haribo ads, or the children adults. The Treadouts.
Treadouts. So anyway, not Haribo news. What were we talking about?
Mods and Fallout 4, but we're done with that.
Yeah, we're done with that. Oh, now we get to talk about something else for 2 seconds, because fuck this.
Oh god, yeah. Screw you, EA.
EA Access is still a thing, so they came on stage to pimp it again, and no one cared again.
No, the crowd was really like, we don't care. Like, their big news was like, hey, for this week, we're giving all Xbox Live Gold members access to EA Access. And to which the crowd were like, yeah, but we're here.
We were like, woo.
we can't actually get at this because we're at E3. Really dumb.
Well, that's dumb.
So moving on from that to something Rob's excited about.
Well, they did, like, just for info on EA Access, it did sort of like, they said they added a couple of things to it, blah, 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 which made me think, okay, so there's roughly a 1-year lead time on a game that you want to play from turning up on EA Access.
Right.
Unless you've bought the game and are using that, like, 4-hour early play benefit or whatever that is.
Yeah, the early demo version. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, it went on for way too long, Crocker's here, and I was surprised that EA talked about it here and not on their own.
Because they wanted to shit up Microsoft's thing instead of their own.
Yeah. Well, and partly because they know Sony doesn't support it. And that's
yeah, obviously.
For obvious reasons, it's Crocker shit.
Yep.
Crocker shit.
Now the thing Rob's excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to choke on that Haribo while you're excited.
Oh, man. What, highway to the danger zone. Apparently.
God damn it.
Come on,
they
Rob.
had the weirdest, like, licensed music.
Yeah.
In all of them.
A bit of a strange choice. You know, I thought Archer was going to use that for it, but, you know. But instead, Garden Warfare 2.
Yep.
Is in the highway to the danger zone.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, they didn't say a great deal here other than showing the trailer, saying it's coming out spring next year, and with goats and transforming things and something that looked a little bit like a Titanfall reference.
Yep, it did.
But it's like, it looks like more Garden Warfare. I'm all for that.
Well, you know what they say about Garden Warfare? Kids and grown-ups love it so.
Do they?
Well, isn't it for kids and for grown-ups like Rob? And they love it so. Well, you certainly do. And you're eating Haribo.
I do. It's grand.
And then next, because I guess we talk about Part1, there'll be some more later in EA's thing.
Yep.
Next, descending from the ceiling, it's Henry Ford III. Only not. That would be cool, huh?
Yeah, if he came down from the ceiling in the car.
Yeah, exactly. That's what everyone was saying. They should have had him and the other dude in the car, so once the car had descended from the ceiling, they could get out and be like, hey.
This is a slightly more dramatic version of what they did for Forza 5.
Yes.
Where they brought out a P1. It's like, no, let's descend the new Ford GT from the sky. I'm not 100% sure why they do this car partnership thing, because it didn't mean anything in Forza 5. It's just like there was just
they want money.
There was just a P1 in it, and it's like, yeah, maybe they're getting money to put people on a particular car on the front of the box.
You don't say.
Yeah.
The fact that Ford is actually there and Henry Ford III is standing on stage saying how much he likes Forza.
That car's pretty cool, though, I guess.
And it did also like highlight why there was this weird like circular area of the stage that they weren't using.
They didn't really use it for anything else, did they? I just thought it was going to be like last year's with their like weird offshoot stages that they had.
Like the co-op standees.
But it was only for the car.
Yeah. Other than that, the set design was pretty much the same, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, pretty much. There was the funny bit, I think, was it Microsoft? Yeah, it must have been Microsoft, where they had like 3 rows of chairs at the front that the presenters kept standing behind.
Yeah, the guys, you could just see the guys awkwardly turning around trying to see what was going on.
What? That's dumb.
Well, at least they can check out Phil Spencer's ass.
I guess. Look at his microphone box.
Yeah. Ooh, I wonder what they're using. Then Forza, they didn't actually show pretty much anything about the game. It was just a load of it
was just that car in game.
There was some wet pavement.
Yeah,
I guess that's new to
the cars span out a couple of times.
Yeah, they've added rain to the core Forza series, I guess. So they may have done before, but it's on the next gen now.
So now it looks fancy.
Yeah, I can't remember if they had done that before. I really can't. If it would have been 3 and 4 if they did. But yeah, it's out this year as predicted, September 15. Slightly earlier than everything else. That might be the earliest release date we actually heard from the show.
There's something on September the 11th, which was funny.
Is there?
I can't remember what that was. I'll see if it's in my notes later.
Oh, man.
Because everyone was like, oh, man, that's an appropriate release.
Okay. So then, there was a very much nothing trailer for the next game from Software.
Yep.
I had to say that. There's something about saying from
Software.
From Software, and everyone was like, "Ooh, is this going to be something different? Is Bloodborne coming to Expo?" And then it quickly becomes apparent, oh no, this is a Dark Souls game, isn't it? This looks like a castle. This looks like the very setting that all Dark Souls stuff is in. And then it's like, oh no, at least it's a new Dark Souls. At least it's not Dark Souls 2 remake or something.
Well, of course it's not. They apparently are now in the business of churning those shits out real fast.
Yeah, I mean, it was early 2016, so it's like, what? Are they planning on alternating between
a Bloodborne and a Dark Souls?
Bloodborne and the Dark Souls, yeah. It's only been 2 years since Dark Souls 2 when that comes out. So, yeah, cranking it. Crank.
Yes, people didn't exactly seem very enthusiastic about it, as you imagine.
I think that the Dark Souls or the Souls fatigue is setting in.
Yeah.
As I say, Bloodborne was the last one to do that. And it didn't set the world on fire, I think, as much as everyone was sort of expecting.
No. People liked it, though.
Yeah, people liked it, but I don't think it's made as big an impact as the Dark Souls 1 and 2 has.
That's hard to do, though, isn't it? It's hard to make as big an impact as... I mean,
so
Dark Souls made a big impact, didn't it, after... And it wasn't the really... Was it Dark Souls 2? Which one was it? Well, no, it was Demon Souls was the first one that didn't make a big impact because it was just too weird. And then Dark Souls made the big splash, I guess. And then Dark Souls 2 kind of improved on it. And then now Bloodborne was like...
It's changed it slightly. Yeah. Bloodborne makes it up a bit. And then, Dark Souls 3 comes along. It's like, do we really want... I think it's because it's so close to what Bloodborne's release. It's like, do people really want another Dark Souls?
Well, and are they going to revert stuff that people thought was better in Bloodborne than the Dark Souls method? Or is it actually going back to a Dark Souls style? Is that?
I reckon they'll bring back the shields and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
I reckon that they'll have the shields, of course, but it's the other stuff, like the certain movement and I do hear that that one of the things that they say they've changed is they've made it so you can fire the short bow quickly, like a quick shot.
Okay.
And that sounds like a sort of equivalent to the Bloodborne pistol.
Yeah, the guns and stuff, yeah.
So maybe they're trying to backport some of that stuff.
I think it's in their interest to diverge more, right? To try and make Bloodborne and Dark Souls more different.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Either way, that's not for us unless that gets back in.
Unless I eventually ever start playing Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2.
Yeah. I kind of get why people enjoy those games, but it just sounds like that would, as I've always said, those games sound like they would cause horror for those around me.
Well, it might only be 1 or 2 years before we get to that in our Steam A to Z, and then you can...
Oh, God.
Then I can show you the start of it that I remember.
Don't hold your breath.
No.
I might veto that one.
Oh.
That's even if it works after those changes they made to the PC.
They got rid of Windows Live, didn't they? So that's fine. Probably.
Someone may have patched it.
Yeah, you can always get the DS fix.
Yeah.
Get that working. So that's that. Then there was some little bit of Division action for a moment.
Yeah, they basically came on stage to say, hey, there's a beta in December.
Yeah, a beta in December.
Yep, so basically proving, this game's not coming out this year then. Still not coming out.
The trouble with people revealing betas as an announcement is that it used to be that used to be a sort of useful indication of how far away the game was from release. But now that everyone has abused the term beta so much, it's like that could either mean it comes out in like January or June. It's like, is it a real beta or is it just a demo?
Or worse than that, take Halo 5 for instance. The beta comes out a whole year before the game is going to come out, and it's
It's like people have abused the term beta so much that that's not actually giving you any clue of the actual release date now. They fucked it up too much.
Yeah. But they do go on at least to then say, hey, by the way, Siege is coming out.
Yeah.
And it's going to come out with Vegas and Vegas 2 thrown in because of backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Just reinforcing that point. Which, you know, you like those, don't you, Dan? The Vegas games?
Oh, sure. Totally.
Yes.
Yes, is the answer. Oh.
We'll talk about Siege some more later, I guess.
Yeah, Ubisoft into more detail. Yep.
I mean, the Vegas, I never played the second one that much. Like, I think did I rent it or something? I can't remember. Anyway, the first one I liked. I don't know why they didn't, because they screwed up, didn't they? What was the one they were making with the bridge and everything? You know, in the video that they canned. Yeah, Rainbow Six, and it looked like really weird and like controversial for no reason and stuff. And it was like it didn't look as good. They could have just made another Rainbow Six.
Saying all that, I do. The new direction seems to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where they're going with Siege seems right.
Yeah, it looks cool.
We'll talk about that one later.
Yeah, that comes up in Ubisoft. And then came a trailer kind of out of nowhere for another new game called Gigantic.
Yep.
Which looks like... Well, it was hard to glean stuff from the trailer, in fairness, about what exactly it was, except for it looked like it might be... It was hard to tell from that trailer whether it was PvE, PvP...
Well, my notes say, what I gleaned from it is my notes say, it's a MOBA. So, there you go.
I mean, it might well be. And in actual fact, if we skip ahead to the PC show, they kind of said it was. Or, like, there are elements of MOBA in it.
Yes. It just appears that, like, the thing you're defending is also a
weapon.
It's sort of like Minimum.
Yeah, I thought that as well. It's like, have they just taken the concept that Minimum came up with and go, well, we've got a bigger budget, shit, let's do this. And make it class-based while we're at it.
Yeah.
With like a ninja guy with like a fox or something that sits on his shoulder.
Possibly.
It looks alright, could be interesting. Could be okay. Looks better than Battlecry, my notes say.
Yeah, I guess that's true. We'll have to compare all the different MOBAs that are coming out to each other and be like, which one of these is actually worth being interested in? Halo 5, there you go. Solve that problem.
Yeah.
That's the only MOBA that we care about.
Exactly.
MOBA.
Are you ready for
Mo problems?
Are you ready for an indie montage?
Yep.
I didn't make a note about everything that they showed here, but it appears that Superhot is still coming. Yeah. They had that briefly. That was the only one thing I took away from that, because I mean Cuphead was in it, but they sort of talked about that in more detail later.
Yeah.
So the makers of Gone Home are doing something.
They're doing something. I liked Gone Home, although it lasted about 2 hours. It was basically like a film.
So it looks like they might be trying to make something a little bit bigger this time, called Tacoma, which is the name of a space station.
I don't know. That seems like it could just be very similar to Gone Home. It could just be a 2-hour float around the space station and look at things to find out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, it could well be. I mean, they've been pitching it again. This came up in the PC thing later, but it's relevant now, I suppose. They were pitching it as there's more to, you can sort of, because there's more scope and more space and more areas you can travel to and explore, that there may be some like light puzzly stuff, like, oh, I need to get up there in order to see this, to see what's over here, that kind of thing. Whether or not any of that is actually essential to progression, they weren't clear about, but it's at least there's sort of slightly more element to, I can't just go here and look at this thing. I have to work out how to get to that thing.
That's not really, that's just like, that could be considered quite similar to the puzzles in Gone Home, just on a slightly different scale. Instead of like looking at a thing to find a password or something, you're finding a ladder to climb up a hill.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or they need to do something to trigger this door to open, don't they? And they had it sort of demonstrated things shown in echoes, didn't it? Like what happened to people and stuff, so you could play it back and it would show them as holograms in the world, and like what's going on Tacoma? Ooh, and there's anti-grav. Ooh, they're doing something.
Yes, it's like, is it a moon base or is it a space station?
Yeah, I suppose I didn't make that 100% clear.
Because if there's the anti-gravity, that would be weird on the moon.
Yeah,
that's no moon base. It's a space station.
It's a space base. All your space are filled with base. Space of base.
Space of base. Is that your new 90s electronica outfit?
Absolutely, yeah.
Space of base.
I wonder if you could do that. Like, everyone seems to be like making like 80s. Or no, I say everyone. There was this sort of sudden burst of like 80s themed things. It's like, what would you even do if you tried to make a 90s themed sci-fi?
Well,
would it be like Babylon 5 or something, or Star Trek DS9?
It would just be like all of the Star Trek, wouldn't it? Or like most of the Star Trek came out in the 90s, didn't it?
I guess it could be Stargate, like, Egyptian.
Yeah, and Stargate, yeah. 90s was like a golden age for like TV sci-fi.
Yeah. It was,
well, not that it was all great or anything, but like there was a lot more of it than there is these days.
Yeah, true. It was in vogue.
Vogue.
Ashen.
Okay, these are like literally. I just wrote the titles and didn't write anything else about these. All these indies.
Yeah, Ashen looked to be one of those sort of like multiplayer co-op survival things. Well, maybe some co-op survival, right. maybe competitive. It looked like one of those games where it just plonks you in the world. You wander around it. If you meet someone, who knows whether they're going to be friendly or not. Stay alive.
Oh yeah, I remember now. I've got an image of what that was. Like weird faceless people.
Yeah.
That was their thing.
Yes, faceless people. No poker faces.
I guess that's important when you're playing a game where people might or might not be evil. It's like, if they just have literally a blank avatar, then they don't have to worry about facial expressions.
Exactly. I mean, it did look like the production was slightly higher than most of these like indie titles that try and do this, so maybe it's interesting. Depends what there is to discover, obviously, and how long the concept of, well, what happens when you die? Do you start all over again?
Yeah.
Is it in the same world? How quickly that all gets old? My note says it looks a bit like that Last Guardian aesthetic we saw several years ago. Like the same sort of characters are designy. I don't know, something to them.
Maybe
felt a little like it. Yeah. What else we got? Brief bit about Beyond Eyes, which seems like quite an interesting idea. Actually, it's an attempt to represent the experiences of a small blind girl. By representing the world in what she hears and feels, and so you can only see something that, or the game will only put on screen things that her other senses have picked up, and it might not be 100% obvious what those things are, or they could be confusing. You could hear something that sounds like something else, and the game will display the something else because you think it's the something else because you haven't learned what the real something is. So it depends exactly how that game plays and what the actual point is, I guess, is a little unknown.
Yeah.
But a damn nice aesthetic, like just going for full-on watercolor painting look. Kind of cool. Kind of be interested. One of these sort of like, it's a new concept. It's a new quirk.
Something to spend your Xbox points on at some point. When you randomly have...
When I randomly gain points again, yeah. as always happens. Yeah. And then they showed a bit of Cuphead, which looks like it's like a platformer shooter sort of thing.
I heard them talking later that apparently there's not actually that much platforming. It's like there's no levels, it's just a boss rush.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
So it's like mostly contained within one screen.
Yeah.
And then maybe it scrolls or whatever.
The more I see of how that game is animated and looks, though, the more I'm impressed.
Yeah.
It's like they have nailed that, like, is it 20s cartoon look?
Yeah.
It's great. I'm excited to see what that ends up being. Major Nelson is a big fan, apparently.
It does look super cool. I didn't see the E3 footage of it, so I should check that out.
It didn't show a great deal of actual gameplay again. They sort of showed.
They showed it maybe they showed it on
another. It was in clips and trailers again, rather than like there may have been another stream where they showed it properly.
Yeah, I don't think they showed as much in the Xbox One as something later. I don't remember. That might have been the Sony one, but they showed slightly more of it.
But they finally gave it a release date, at least, which is next year, of course.
Naturally.
At what time next year? They didn't say, but it's next year.
We would hope early, because it seems like there's quite a lot to it, considering the different levels that they clicked through.
Mm. Well, it's been in development for a long, long time, so... Like Super Hot, I suppose. We've seen it for just as long.
Super Hot feels like we've seen it for longer.
Yeah. Maybe it's because they said Super Hot a lot.
That's true.
Super Hot.
So anyway, that's the indies.
So, who were the guys that made this next thing? Was it the guy that worked on DayZ or something? Has gone on to work on a different project?
You've missed something.
Have I missed something? What did I miss?
You skipped over the Xbox game preview.
Oh, I did miss that. What was that?
Their version of early access, basically. They're doing a store where you can buy early access games, basically, on the Xbox.
Okay, interesting.
But apparently,
the Xbox preview or something.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with people on the preview program.
It's the Xbox game preview specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they said that it's going to be like more curated than Steam. Like basically, their main thing is that any game that's going to go in this early access preview also simultaneously has to have a demo version at that point.
Right. Okay.
So you can actually play it before you buy into the early access.
Oh, I see. Right. Smart, I guess. But that demo probably might be the game.
Time limited, I imagine.
Or it might actually be what the game is at that point,
exactly.
given how early it is.
So yeah, they're doing early access as well, basically.
Fine. Sure. Why not? Get everyone on board.
Yep. And now the DayZ thing.
Yeah. Actually, I don't really know what this is. It seemed to be some game in space called Ion.
Well, my note says...
And they didn't really say anything else.
My note says DayZ Space Engineers. So, I guess there you go.
They did talk about it later in the PC thing, but they didn't show anything else. So, whatever this trailer is all you've got. Ion.
Yep, that's it.
Rise of the Tomb Raider gameplay demo.
Maybe. My note says, "Where is the game?" It's like here's a whole ton of QuickTime events, only hidden QuickTime.
Kinda, yeah. It's pretty much like some of the disaster sequences that would have been in the first Tomb Raider game, where stuff is happening around you. You've got to just do stuff to try not to die, but that stuff that you need to be doing is pretty obvious.
Yeah,
it's pretty like signposted what you need to do.
And it turns out Lara Croft has magic ice picks.
Of course.
That miraculously appear in her hands and then disappear back onto her belt in a moment.
Yeah. Game.
Yeah, I guess so. The snow looks pretty good.
It looked good. I mean, visually, yeah, it was quite nice looking. But it is another classic example of, like, exactly what the first game did in a way, is that nothing goes well, ever.
No.
Everything has to go as bad as it could possibly get.
Here's this ridiculous giant storm that for some reason in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
Like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you really get thunderstorms on a mountain.
Depends how high you are, I guess.
It's something to do with like hot air, though, isn't it? Like the mountains. I don't know.
Dan, you got any meteorological?
Well,
not in the kind of way that this showed, anyway. Where it's like, oh shit, that storm is really very bad. It's not like a blizzard. If it had been a blizzard, it would have made sense. But it was like a literal thunderstorm.
On a snow-topped mountain.
That was coming towards the snowy peak. And I was like, that's weird, isn't it?
Well, that's the whole point.
Well, yeah, exactly. That is the whole point. It's clearly not natural. God damn it.
I'm sure you get them on like a African peak or something, like Kilimanjaro or something. I'm sure you get like the wind's going along, and then suddenly the mountain it goes up, and then it's like, oh shit, it gets cold, and I don't know.
But again, presumably that's not on the snowy bit.
Yeah. Oh, Christ, I don't know. I'm sure you definitely get lightning storms of some kind on mountains, just like you get them anywhere else. I don't know. Don't know, though.
Who knows? Any weather people, please write in.
So
anyway, that felt weird.
A lot of stuff was going wrong. Basically, too much was going wrong.
Luckily for us, and luckily for a lot of people who were worried about it, they didn't end it with her dying.
Yeah.
Which was probably, it seemed like that could have been the way that was going, where they're just like, we're going to have a fail state.
Yeah, well, she didn't even get impaled or anything. Well, actually, in fairness, she gets impaled at the start of the first game, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So...
It actually seemed really similar, where they cut right at the Salad era. They cut to her in a cave, and she's holding a torch, and she's pushing her way through a thing. It's like, hang on, is this the first game again?
Yeah.
It's that same demo.
Yeah, but it's Tomb Raider, man.
But then she goes out into some snow, so it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I really liked the last game, so I'm somewhat hopeful that this will still be good. And it is technically out this year, but only on Xbox this year.
Because of their exclusivity thing.
Yeah. Timed exclusive. Yeah. So then, some kind of cool sort of news.
And then some Fatboy Slim.
And then some Fatboy Slim.
For some reason. Yeah. Because that's indicative of the 90s.
Yeah. It is.
Kind of is.
Which is, in fairness, the height of Rare entertainment. So here comes the Rare Replay Collection, which is going to be a collection of 30 different games for $30. Sounds like a bargain, right?
Yeah, what games do you get?
I had to look up the list afterwards just to make sure what's in there. So there's Banjo 2E.
We're going through 30 games.
Well, no, only the ones I remember.
Okay.
I haven't written them all
Only the
down.
important ones.
Yeah, Perfect Dark's in there. Viva Pinata, both of them are in there. Perfect Dark 0, the bad Perfect Dark. Battletoads, RC Pro-Am 1 and 2. What else we got? Blast Corps, Jet Force Gemini. Not Donkey Kong Country, obviously. And not GoldenEye for similar reasons, presumably. Because, licensing and crap.
Yeah.
Blast Corps, jeez.
Yeah, that was like an N64 launch title, that was. Yeah,
that must look pretty rough.
Yeah, I'd imagine it does, yeah. Oh, and Cameo. That was the other 360 game they were putting on. Oh, and Grabbed by the Ghoulies. Their OG Xbox game they did. It's regardless. It seems like a pretty good package. For the price that it will be, that seems cool. And given that, my hope is that the version of Perfect Dark they put on there is the redone version they put on the 360.
Right, yeah.
Because that was they did a pretty good job of that. Apart from it being slightly screwy when you tried to play split screen and the Xbox guide getting in the way.
Yeah.
And making it really difficult. But yeah, hopefully that will be that version. Yeah, cool thing. Shame it's not a new game. But
after everyone got unnecessarily excited for a moment there and then was disappointed, they got excited again.
Because they are making a new game. Yes. And it isn't bloody Kinect Sports.
Hooray! At long last. But what is it? Dun-dun-dun.
Well, it looks a little bit like they're making some kind of co-op pirating simulator called Sea of Thieves.
A pirate's life for me.
Yeah. My one sort of adjective style comment here is, oh, it looks nice. And in fairness, when it got super choppy and they were at sea and stuff, that was pretty good looking water.
How's it compared to Ass Creed?
Well, I still haven't actually played Ass 4.
No, but I don't know. Ass. Water-wise, the fourth of the asses. Well, there's
which isn't actually the fourth of the asses, but
no, it's not. Okay, cool. Well,
it looked pretty good.
Is it an MMO or is it like a Destiny style?
There's definitely PvP in that trailer. So.
Yeah, because you've got pirate ships fighting against each other like at sea and stuff. And it looked like they made it look like the players have to actually be the crew on the ship.
Yeah.
Like doing rigging and stuff.
Whatever quick time event that is.
Yeah.
Mash X repeatedly to rig.
Yeah.
Yo ho ho.
Hoist the mainsail or whatever the phrases are.
You have to.
I don't know.
have the sea shanty in order to time the button presses of way up she rises.
No, what are some sailing terms for like pirate ships? Lee-ho. Okay, well, Lee-ho. There you go.
Okay.
You can Lee-ho, probably.
Lee-ho. Okay.
So that's that. Not really much information.
No information, but, Rare are doing something somewhat creative for once. Yeah.
What?
It's been a while. Fable Legends is obviously back.
And maybe it's free to play?
Yeah, it is free to play. They've confirmed that, yeah.
Which is weird.
Fable Legends is going to be a free to play game. It's a little bit. I've noted it looks a tiny bit prettier than we last saw it. Like there seems to be more detail in the world, and it wasn't quite so framey, I think, as the last demos they showed.
The question is, if it's free to play, where are they going to make money? Where's the money making part of this?
Again, skipping ahead, this was covered in the. Okay, spoiler alert, I guess, for later on. This was covered in the PC show because there's going to be a PC version, and it's going to be cross-platform. And then they talked about the model, and the model is going to be similar to that of a MOBA, in that it's free to play, but if you want to buy extra characters to play, that's where the money comes in.
Okay.
But yeah, a free-to-play Fable game. And the cross-platform actually makes somewhat amount of sense, right? Because surely playing the evil guy makes more sense with a mouse and keys.
Yes.
So,
controlling the dungeon.
So, yeah, good on them. Makes sense. Let's see how this goes. This means we can try it. because I'm not going to buy it. Because Fable.
Yep, because Fable.
Has no appeal to me whatsoever. So then they start talking VR for a bit.
Mysteriously.
Just to basically say, oh yeah, by the way, we've partnered with both Valve and
Oculus.
And Oculus, presumably because of the to say, hey, we're offering some stuff, we're offering it with the Xbox controller. Which is a bit weird given that they said, oh, we've partnered with Valve to do this, because, Valve have their own controller that they are starting to sell.
That's true.
It won't come to you yet, but they're selling it.
It was just weird that they pre-E3 had done their Oculus thing because Oculus had a conference, and then at this they're like, and Valve!
Yeah.
Just suddenly.
Somewhat weird. That was pretty much all they had to say about that.
Yeah.
Even though we talked about it last week, about the crazy in-room Oculus support they planned for the Xbone?
Yeah, the project your TV onto a bigger TV.
Yeah. Effectively, so you can wear an Oculus headset and pretend you have a massive TV and play Xbone on it.
But they don't care about VR. Apparently they care about AR.
Yep.
Or as they call it now, MR. Because for some reason they've decided not augmented reality, it's merged reality. What they're calling it now.
That's not good.
Did they think that augmented was a slightly too long a word for the casual market?
Maybe.
Augmented it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
It still makes sense.
Yep.
There's no need to change it to merged.
But that seems to be what they're calling it.
They could call it blended reality or something. I don't know. I mean, you could come up with a number of names.
Same thing, yeah.
And they're all still calling them holograms.
Somewhat incorrectly, but they've doubled down on the holo idea now. It's in the name, so it'd be foolish to leave it alone. But the demo they did for it was actually pretty cool, I thought.
Well, it was cool that they managed to find a way to record it for a start.
Yeah, they had to have a second device that was tapped into obviously what the first device could see. The second device was effectively acting as the first, right? But just rendering it into the video feed rather than onto a screen in front of the guy.
Yeah, it was it was as if you paired another set of HoloLens and it was just seeing it from a different angle.
Yeah. Presumably they must have had one of those cameras about during prototyping and stuff, so they can record their results and stuff. So it's
maybe.
But yeah, they basically did the whole Minecraft on a table thing that they had teased before and demonstrated it live, and it's just holy shit, this is kind of cool.
Well, I thought it was mainly amazing for how fast Minecraft was loading. I was like, holy shit, the chunks are loading as he's panning across the world and he's sliding up and down a brick at a time. It's not lagging.
Maybe that's a trick of the console versions, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I've watched various videos of people playing the console versions, and it seems like it's, in a lot of cases with the console version of Minecraft, it's okay for the host.
Right.
The people joining the host, maybe not so much. You still get a lot of slow chunk loading where you're just looking at a big hole.
Right. Yeah, but it was like the tech he was using, and it just, if that's what HoloLens is going to be, just in terms of the visual fidelity that it was putting out.
Yeah.
Maybe not the gestural and the actual control stuff that he was doing. It seemed a little didn't quite gel.
Well, I mean,
it's hard to tell from our view.
It's like, what are you even going to do, though? That's the trouble.
Yeah.
It's like you can look at your Minecraft world and it's real fancy and it looks cool, but then you can't play it like that.
Yeah. It'd be kind of cool. Say you were sitting in the couch, right, playing a game on the console on your telly or something, and you had HoloLens, and your coffee table is then showing extra information, sort of in 3D there.
That's probably really distracting.
Maybe, yeah, but it's that's still cool, right? What if it turned your room into the cockpit and which your screen is the window?
Yes, that would be cool, but that wouldn't actually work because it looks like you have to set a very defined area for it to
Maybe, but HoloLens could just cover that up, right? With whatever scenery you wanted.
Yeah, but it's
depending on how good the actual image ends up being, through the headset.
It seems like for the tracking, you have to set the points in the world. The people have been talking about other demos of HoloLens that we might talk about later, but they've been saying the tables have dots around the edges that define the area.
Oh, sure.
So it can pick up the tracking accurately.
Yeah, okay. So it's still not as
clever. So you probably can't just transmit it onto your whole room unless you corner the edges of the room.
Well, no, but I mean, in the example I just gave, presumably you only need dots around your screen, right? So it knows where the screen is and then can just build the world around it.
Maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
That might be a bit weird though, because I think at the distance you're sitting away from the screen, that would look kind of weird if you were sitting in the cockpit of your spaceship and you're 5 feet away from the actual window.
That's true, actually.
Unless it was unless you were playing a Star Trek game, that'd be cool. Then you could have the actual bridge.
Oh yeah, man, we may have found the perfect use case for this thing. But then Oculus could do that as well, right?
There's nothing. They all could.
Yeah.
Oculus could do it better because then you wouldn't be limited by the size of your TV.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, that the woman doing the Minecraft presentation had an incredibly annoying inflection in her voice. She had one of those classic, always going up voices.
Oh, right. So, drop some TNT? Finally.
Yes,
the dude who currently heads the Coalition, which, as it turns out, is the dev team working on Gears of War stuff.
Yep.
Coalition's a cool name. It's quite appropriate because, like 3 Thor 3, that's the Coalition is a thing from
it's
the Gears.
Sort of cool, but it's hella generic also.
Sort of. Yeah. It's appropriate for the game they were making. So yeah, he basically came out to say, "Yeah, Gears of War Ultimate Edition. That's really a thing."
Yeah,
I guess it's the first time it's been officially said, right?
Yeah,
that it's a thing. It's the first Gears game to run at full 1080-60,
and it's also the first Gears game,
and it is just the first Gears game. Yeah,
what?
It's not a collection. It's just a remake of Gears 1.
Really?
Yeah, it's why they haven't specifically called it a collection. It's just the Ultimate Edition.
Oh, I see.
But,
okay.
And that was pretty much it. Apart from he then goes, "Oh yeah, there's this one more thing," and so we get a gameplay demo of Gears of War 4,
and it looks kind of poop.
Well, the problem is it looks exactly like Gears of War, but without Marcus Phoenix in it, or Baird, or
any of the
or the Coal Train, and it's
you know and love.
Whoever they showed looked kind of dull, and it's and it looked, it looked good, but it looked identical to old Gears. And it's I'm all for a new Gears game, but you've got to do more than this, guys. There's got to be more to it than just being a Gears game.
And also, maybe it's a prequel.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
It looked like that sort of... It looked suspiciously like they were just starting... They came across those weird orange tendrils. It's are we about to start seeing where the locusts come from?
What are these glowing pods? Yeah.
Well, I think he seemed to know what they were, though. Because he's don't touch them, and then he immediately touches them. In the classic maneuver.
Oh, I thought he said that afterwards. I thought he touched them, got covered, and then it's
no, I think he said it immediately before that, where he's don't touch them, oops.
Or maybe his cohort said it. over the radio or something.
Maybe. But yeah, that
wasn't the best reveal in the world. Gears has had better reveals.
Well, the trouble with that whole demo is they didn't really show any fucking fighting.
No.
They were just like, we've got to track this monster, and then occasionally you see it in the distance disappearing over the crest of a hill or something, and then they come to the end and it's like, there's the monster, and now it's a scripted sequence.
Sort of, yeah.
Where's the actual fighting?
Sort of quick, tiny looking thing. Yeah, who knows? Hopefully that's just early days, and that's the one bit they could actually show, maybe.
Maybe.
But there's got to be more to it, guys.
So you're not hype for Gears 4?
Not yet. I want to be, but that trailer didn't, or what they've shown hasn't done anything for me.
No.
Which is a bit of a bummer to end on.
Yeah,
that's where the show ends, and it's like, oh god, your Gears of War should have been your big moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh snap, because they did one of their Microsoft are very good at this when they do their shows and stuff, and just dropping into something and not telling you anything about it, and you being all like, here's something you've never seen before. And, I really appreciate how Microsoft do their shows. I think they are super slick and super well done. But to end on a moment like that, where it's just like, oh, okay, I know what you were going for and the intention was there, but what you actually showed doesn't excite as much as you think it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Was a tiny bit of a letdown. But all in all, good show, Microsoft.
Yep, I guess so.
Seriously well done. You've nailed it the last few years, and whatever this formula is that you've had for the last 3 odd shows or something, it's working for you. I like it. Not just because I have an Xbox.
Yes, not because you're an Xbox fanboy.
And I am a fanboy or something. I actually think the way they just do shows is kind of the letter to how the others should do shows.
Well, it's
the benchmark.
It was probably just because of the TV thing, because they always had that restriction, and now they're just now they don't, but they've sort of continued the tradition of how they do it.
Like it was fairly tight. It was a little bit longer than what they normally do because they didn't have the TV restriction, but but it still kept that same pace, that same feel. Good job.
Yeah.
Right, how far are we in?
How long have we been going?
Hour 40.
We could probably do EA.
Yeah, okay. EA is where things start to go wrong for me in terms of this E3.
Well, the EA one is where things started to go wrong, but also during the length of the EA one, that started to go wrong. It's the actual progression of the EA thing also was a downward slope into Doom. Not literally Doom.
So yeah, it got worse as it went along. So, following on from what I just said about how Microsoft do their shows, EA do the exact opposite to that. They like to talk about their game at length with no fanfare whatsoever, and then show you the thing you're supposed to be excited for. And the way that you're being hyped for something by some guy just talking at you, oh yeah, here's the new FIFA, or here's the new sports game, here's the new thing we're putting together. It's going to work exactly like this. We're doing new dynamic content. We're doing things that will amaze you, stuff like that. And by the point you actually get to the trailer, you're bored.
Yes.
And you don't want to see the trailer.
I don't think it's been as bad as this year. Because this year I actually put a note in my thing where it just says EA's having the talking year. It's not Sony having the talking year, where they go on for way too long.
This is the thing. You said that then. You said that then.
but this one was particularly bad for EA. It's way too much talking.
It's a bit of a...
Also, because of some things that happen later on, way too much talking.
Uh-huh.
But we'll get to that.
So let's crack on, shall we?
Yes.
What we thought might be the biggest announcement they had to think
wasn't
really an announcement, no. And it came first, and it was like, yeah, we're still working on Mass Effect. It's going to come out next year.
Yep.
And it's going to be called Andromeda. And we're not going to say anything else.
Well...
Have a shot of the N7 armor again.
Well... I'm really annoyed by this because
it's not a trailer, it's a nothing.
Well, apart from the trailer sucking, they do show a Mako, which is kind of...
Oh yeah, they do briefly, yeah. That's the one,
that's sort
of fast Mako, by the looks of it, yeah.
Turbo Mako. But the trouble with it is, they've called it Mass Effect Andromeda, and they've said in various other places that, it's a new galaxy, literally Andromeda.
Yeah.
But then, how the fuck do you have humans and N7 armor and Mako? Unless
We've gone there to chase the Reapers, right?
Well, this is the problem that I have with it, is that basically they've got the really obvious excuse of, like, we just found a Mass Effect relay gate that goes to another galaxy. Because you could do that. Yeah. It could just be part of the Mass Effect relay network.
Or maybe they figured out how to use the one in the Citadel to go to where the Reapers were rather than the other way. Yeah.
But then, so it's just like, no. I don't want you to shoehorn a way to bring back all the original races and then have them in this completely new galaxy, like them suddenly become colonists.
Yeah, but I suppose the bonus is that we could be subjected to all new, like a large selection of new races.
No, yeah, but that's what I mean. They should have made a full selection of new races, and like you don't even play as a human. You should have played as like some other alien race for the hell of it.
Oh, maybe they felt that was a bit.
But the fact that they've come up with basically a way to have this transference makes me think they're going to rely on that too heavily, and it's just going to be they're not going to come up with anything especially amazingly new because we've already built this nicely meshed these various factions of the different races.
I mean, yeah, from that perspective, it does seem a little unnecessary to go to a whole new galaxy, because the Mass Effect universe, we've always said this, has plenty of scope for interesting stories.
It's the entire fucking galaxy.
Yeah.
Even though on the galaxy map you apparently go all over it, which is weird in itself.
Yeah. Which is weird, yeah. It's not like Star Trek where it takes freaking 70 years to get from one side to the other.
The Delta Sector, yeah. So yeah, that was kind of poopy in some ways.
Yeah, it did nothing for me at all.
No,
like, that Mako shot was the one thing where it's just like, ooh, how's this going to work?
But hopefully better than these.
Yeah, but
I mean,
there's just nothing to go on, right?
I don't know. For me,
which is doubly disappointing
to Halo for me, in that it's like, I guess with Halo they formed a whole new studio specifically for it and everything, but I feel like, I don't know, it's not the same BioWare making this that made the previous ones. Those people are done with it, and the doctors
gone to make
quit.
Craft beer.
Yeah.
I
mean, this is similar for me in that, like, the trouble is, like, those Halo games have to work twice as hard to win me over for some because of that break. I don't know why, and like I wasn't convinced by the look of like the story or stuff in like Halo 4 and the new enemies and stuff. So I basically
Halo 4 was a great game.
Yeah. So you say I still don't believe you for some reason. I don't know.
Despite watching me play a bit of it, did you?
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe I think it's probably a good Halo game in terms of mechanics and stuff, definitely. But and it looked super cool for like the 360. It looked insane.
It's an impressive looking game.
But I think it was a combination of, I didn't care where they were going with the story because I felt like the story had been wrapped up, so I didn't really care about a new thing, and I had fatigue on that kind of gameplay. Like, if I hadn't had it for years, then do you know what I mean? I just played Reach or whatever. So I think it was that. It wasn't that gameplay was bad. In fact, it was probably better than it ever been before in many ways. I don't know. So I have a similar thing.
There are normally multi-year gaps between each game, though. It's not like I don't get the fatigue from Halo because there isn't one every year. You know, it's that there are gaps.
Yeah, I guess.
And this would be 3 years, I think, since Halo 4 when this comes out.
Well, how long was it between Reach and Halo 4? It can't have been that long.
2 years, I think.
2 years? Oh, 2 years. Okay, fine. Okay, well, I guess that's a decent gap for most people.
Maybe 1.5, actually. Because Reach was still Bungie, wasn't it? So they were probably, but 343 were coming on board, I think, at that point because they did the the first anniversary edition of Halo.
Right. That was the stopgap, wasn't it, for the year where they didn't have Halo? Yeah, that makes sense. So it probably was 2 years. Anyway, Mass Effect time got the same thing where it's like, these aren't the same. Like, what they've wrapped up the story and now we're starting again for no reason in a similar vein. And also it's not the same people or whatever. So it's like, well, they have to work twice as hard to impress me, and doesn't look good from that little trailer or anything because they haven't done anything interesting.
What's the thing that it's doubly disappointing because last year all EA really showed of anything was those skanky dev things. Like, here's a preview shot of something we've been like concepting and like running an engine and stuff like that, and that was all they showed.
Yeah.
And now this year, all they have to show is effectively a teaser trailer for something they already teased. You know, it didn't need to be another teaser. It's not a proper trailer. Like,
and the thing is, Zach's right about the Andromeda thing in the fact that like that could be cool in that it could be a totally clean break, and they could invent some other creative team that was awesome could come and invent basically a new franchise, but just following some of the conventions of Mass Effect or something, with all new races and everything in an all new universe or whatever. But they're not going to do that because they're going to try and repeat a formula, aren't they?
Yeah. Depends how big they go.
Like, who does that? Like, it has to be a huge franchise like Star Wars for someone to come in and try and do something radical or whatever, you know?
Before they get shouted at for being non-canon.
Well, everything's non-canon now. But
yeah, we can do whatever the fuck we want for Star Wars. No one cares anymore.
Do you know that Star Wars? My brother was been talking about this like kids' TV show or whatever that's on, the Star Wars Rebels. Have you come across this? Because apparently it's canon.
Yes, no, I have it. This is the one that's sort of CG'd, is it? Like,
yeah, it's like a cartoon or whatever, but it's actually sort of a cool setup because it's like it's set kind of leading up to A New Hope or whatever, and so it's got it's got Grand Moff Tarkin in, and it's got Darth Vader in a bit, who's actually voiced by what's his name, James Earl Jones, and everything.
Awesome,
which is awesome. And yeah, I don't know. It's just sort of the fact that it's canon is kind of interesting. So I don't know what's happening.
I wonder if Disney make it. You know?
Yeah. It's probably on the Disney Channel or something. I don't know. I don't watch. But I only noticed it because, well, my brother was talking about it. But I only noticed it because I started seeing Lego sets that were like based on ships from that, and I was like, well, what kind of ship is that? Right. Okay. Cool.
I hear they retconned that Han Solo was married during his affair with Leia.
Really?
Apparently.
Oh, really? Okay.
I didn't know that.
Say. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Puts a whole new spin on those films.
Yeah, well, Han was married, but like Luke and Leia were like...
Well, yeah, they could have still been separated by many star systems. It's fine.
It's a good excuse.
You're outside the
I was light years away.
Yeah.
What happened? You wouldn't have heard about for hundreds of years if it had been for faster than light travel.
What happens on Endor stays on Endor? Is that?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, you don't know what the female gossip network is like a long time ago.
So anyway,
actually,
by the way,
anyone with buns has telepathy.
Okay,
so it's
as an aside, I went to the Secret Cinema Star Wars thing.
Oh yeah,
so that was
paid
for
one of those ridiculous tickets. Oh my god, yeah.
Well,
how'd that go?
Yeah, no, it was good. Well, I think those tickets. I mean, it's a bit expensive, but for me, those things are more fun than going to like a convention. Because if you go to a convention, you have to pay for the ticket or whatever. Say it's Comic-Con or like I went to a Star Trek one or whatever. But basically, you go in or whatever, and there's like people dressed up and stuff. That's cool and everything. And people are happy to be there because they're excited to share their like passion for Star Trek or whatever it is. But basically, all it is a bunch of shops trying to fleece you. Basically, that's what it is. It's like a big, huge area.
It's a giant, expensive store.
Exactly, it's a giant, expensive store. Whereas, at least with Secret Cinema, it's not that. It's like people are dressed up in the same way and are excited to be there for Star Wars in the same way. But you get loads of cool. You know, it's much cooler than a bunch of shops or whatever. Like they had Tatooine like totally recreated or whatever, and you could talk to Uncle Owen and go and chat to C-3PO or whatever, and all of that shit. And then you could go and have a drink in a cantina and then you. So
they did it bigger than the other things you've seen then.
Well, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was bigger. It was pretty big. It had two sections, unlike so listeners, if you want to keep it a secret, then whatever. I won't reveal too much.
Actually, we should stop here because that's kind of the point,
spoilers.
Isn't it? Right?
Yeah, spoilers. But yeah, I mean, I thought the cool part was because the film they were showing was Empire, which is the best one. But the clever part was that all of the stuff leading up to it, all of the sets and stuff all of the areas that you walk around and stuff, was all telling the story of the first film instead. So you got the story of Star Wars, and then you sat down and watched Empire, which was really clever.
Yeah, cool idea.
So yeah, it was super cool. Check it out. It's on for quite a while, so if you still want to go, you can. It was in like an old print works. That's why they have such a massive building.
You know who isn't super cool?
No,
not Phil Spencer,
the EA guy who came out.
Oh yeah. Sorry, talking about the wrong thing. Phil Spencer is super cool.
Yes. The EA guy came out.
I'm sure we'll get more Star Wars by the end of this EA conference.
What did we call him last year? We had a name for him, didn't we? Like, was it
Slimy
McSlickface?
Yeah, something. Like, he's back.
I pegged who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Paddy McGuinness a little bit in terms of how he looks. Like, so I'm just sort of expecting him to go, no likey, no lighty.
Okay. He does clearly not
Let
live
the
to
EA
play.
see the access. Boom.
He does not live to play.
He does not live to play.
As he said.
He lives to business.
Yes, clearly.
He lives to slime.
So get past that guy. And then we moved on to Need for Speed.
Need for Speed, which I think...
Not the Need for Speed.
No, just Need for Speed. I think one of the guys during that monologue, they were saying in the first bit of footage they got round to showing eventually after talking about it for ages.
Yeah.
I think he said perfection. I need to go back and watch it because I just heard perfection. And it's like, which is
perfection.
Yeah. Which is like the most ironic way you could say that word, right?
Well, any way that's wrong.
Any way that's wrong, yeah.
Cooked to perfection.
Yeah.
My notes for Need for Speed just has in all caps words.
Well, yeah, my notes.
Because that was they have their 5 disciplines or whatever of street racing.
Yeah, like was it style and
build or drift or some shit.
Social.
Gang.
Dag.
No, gang.
Dag.
Dag.
Dagger. Yeah, they did that. My note says, turns out it's pretty hard to make a good racing game pitch.
Well, they do have one thing. FMV.
That's true, they do. Yeah. Actual recorded. Although, the transition.
Yeah, the bit where
cool.
they had the FMV in the same room as a model of a car, essentially.
That was quite impressive.
Yeah, it was quite well done.
Yeah, they went from FMV just straight into the game seamlessly. Not even a cut or anything. It was just the car that was in the background was the model of the car, and the dudes. How they did that. It's cool. It's cool. Very, very well done on that front, tech-wise.
Yeah.
The game looks a bit odd.
Well, I don't understand how you could possibly play with that camera.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't follow the car. It's like you slide, but then the camera is like at 90 degrees. Yeah. I think it's like someone was suggesting that might be like a special drift camera to make it easier to...
It was a drift challenge they were doing. So.
But still, I was like, how could you possibly even play that? I couldn't understand what was going on.
I found it really difficult to see what was going on in the city because everything bloomed, everything glared, everything it looked kind of real. In that respect, the lights kind of bloomed up and against a camera as you would kind of expect them to.
Yeah,
I suppose. But I couldn't see what the hell was going on. Wet Pavement of the Year contender.
Yeah, maybe.
Wet Pavement looked pretty good.
As much of it as you could see.
Better than Forza.
It did, actually. Yeah, I would say it looked better than Forza's Wet Pavement.
Maybe.
So my note literally says odd camera work.
I put impossible camera. That's how much I liked it.
Yeah. Who knows? They might be going with the right direction of it in terms of setting and stuff. They might have got that right.
Well, there's the idea that they've got actual people from the street racing scene to do their FMV. That could be really funny.
It could be really, really hilarious. What kind of dumb story shit are they going to throw in?
What kind of complete failure acting is they going to be?
Oh man, it could be hilarious.
Oh yeah, and then here's a note that I maybe should have mentioned at the start of the EA thing, but they kept doing coming up essentially on their little bot bar, and it was always like, Star Wars, wait, here comes Star Wars, don't leave, here comes Star Wars.
Star Wars is 45
Star Wars
minutes
55
away.
minutes away, 45 minutes away, 10 minutes away.
And actually there were a couple of spots, I'm not going to do it now, I'll tell you what they were, there was a couple of spots where those popped up and they mentioned games that were supposed to be surprises.
Yeah, so supposed to be big reveals.
Yeah, and it's like, coming up, this, and you're like, wait, what? What? Oh, god damn it, Ian.
You thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Apart from the bit where they had to keep telling people to not leave because Star Wars was coming.
Yeah. EA don't know how to do a fucking show. This was.
The thing about it was like this conference seemed to go on for a really long time for reasons that we still haven't got to.
Yeah,
but I wasn't convinced that those times were even accurate. When it was like Star Wars in 15 minutes, I was like, it seems like it's been longer than 15 minutes.
That one came out quite late, but yeah. They did. Well, you remember they did give a release date of November this year for Need for Speed, which I think everyone expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, god damn it, EA. This show was so frustrating in many ways.
So next, there's an expansion to the Old Republic, I guess,
which they had to talk about for a while before showing any content.
Yeah. Even though this should have been an Elder Scrolls Online style of thing. They should have just been like, fuck this shit, move on.
When they're doing something about like two brothers and stuff, like one getting screwed up or something, there's some like story.
And the evil one is the white one.
Oh
no!
So you didn't see that one coming. Oh.
What?
Yeah.
White
as in his robes. Yeah, not just the fact that he was white.
That would be weird.
That would be quite strange.
And then actually the one thing that I came away from this thinking, like, somewhat, okay, this is your one interesting thing.
Yeah, this is the one thing that is not at all EA in any kind of way. But
yeah.
Somehow that's just limited.
And brought a smile to my face because of it.
God.
Admittedly,
this guy on the stage.
The build-up to, I feel really sorry for that guy.
I know, it was just like, what? Did they not tell him what he was about to do?
He looked like the most nervous person I've ever seen. He looked like he was about to fall over. Yeah, he was talking about, like, effectively this game they've come up with where the main character that he came up with whilst on holiday, where the main character is effectively a little yarn puppet. And the idea is that he's sort of slowly unraveling. Hence the name of the game, Unravel. But when he came out to sort of describe his idea to people and stuff like that, he was just a ball of nerves.
Yep.
Just like when it zoomed in to show him holding Yanni, like
he was shaking like shit.
His hands are all over the place. I feel he's obviously like he was obviously not ready for the job, I think. And in fairness, other big publishers have done this to people before. When No Man's Sky was first shown, for instance, the guy that got up to do the dev pitch, he was obviously not comfortable with the situation. He's comfortable with it now.
We'll get to that later.
But the first time he did it, he just wasn't on it. It's a bit of a trend, isn't it? Like for like getting the actual devs to talk about their indie projects on stage.
Yeah, I guess.
Which
is why this was the only one at EA.
Yeah, isn't always the best idea, as it turns out. So yeah, I feel really sorry for that guy. But his game looks pretty cool. It's got neat sort of cutesy thing. But I want to see how that turns out.
And then, of course, inevitably, considering the style of this game, deploy the horribly abrupt transition.
Yeah, from that lovely, serene,
semi-cute,
Woolly World-esque style game to Danger Zone.
Yeah,
again.
Back to Plant vs. Zombies.
Going back to the Danger Zone with, like, PopCap, like my notes say, PopCap are still dumb.
Yep.
Here comes someone dressed up as the Super Zombie or whatever he is.
Yep.
Which is one of the new classes.
It's like they couldn't have... It's like it's virtually impossible to avoid that kind of transition where you compare that game, the Unravel game, to anything else that EA makes.
Pretty much.
It's a complete tonal shift in any case.
Yeah.
They should have stuck someone having a bit of a talk in, not that they needed more talking, but that would have been an appropriate time to do some.
Actually, you know what? If this was the first time Garden Warfare 2 had been spoken about, and they had hard transitioned to the zombie coming out, EA probably would have been doing something slightly better than they had done for the rest of the show. You know? Because they wouldn't have, like, preambled into it.
Maybe,
something.
But it still would have seemed like a really weird transition.
I'd have been okay with it. It didn't strike me as that odd. I was just glad that there wasn't so much talking.
Yeah, I guess. But then
they did talk about Garden Warfare.
And then they did talk.
Identifying some of the stuff we said earlier, and that there's 6 new character classes, but they did come out, and then it seems like they flipped the focus around this time. So, like, instead of it being plants focused, like for the single player, like all the horde mode stuff, that it's on the other foot now. The zombies are defending from plant invasions.
Yeah.
They swapped it around.
It's making less and less sense by the second.
Yep.
It's like now the zombies have a civilization because apparently they're not actually really that zombie-ish.
Zomburbia. Yeah, they don't just want to eat brains.
They're basically people now.
Yeah.
Zomburbia. Nice.
Yep. But pretty much, what I've got here is it flips the focus, but it's the same game, really. Yeah. Which is no bad thing, but it looked way too much the same. I'm going to still lap it up because it's more content, right? But
I didn't write it down here, and I guess it must have been in this one, but they said that it will port your unlocks from the first game.
The majority of it. There'll be some, presumably they're talking about the sponsored items won't come across. There probably won't be no... God, was it Mountain Dew or something?
Yeah, probably.
Like one of like some sort of juice drink. Or Cheetos. There won't be any Cheetos references, presumably.
Yes.
So that stuff obviously won't port, but that means that any of the unlockable stuff that you've previously unlocked will be ported across for those characters, which is cool. Yeah, that's something. And they did the other thing where they re-emphasized the fact that all updates to the game will be free as they were before.
Yeah.
Which then immediately made me think, but for how long? Like, are you going to do the 1 year of updates and then abruptly stop again, or
and then release God of Warfare 3?
Yeah. Well, presumably, because I guess they're just playing the business model here, right?
Playing the yearly release.
Yeah,
as they do.
Well, it'll be 2 years by the time it comes out, which will be spring next year. And they did say, like, if you do want to play the sort of horde modes or the semi-single player content, the AI will now fill in the spots. You don't always have to have humans. Which, didn't exist in the first game. You always needed humans. Yeah. Hey guys, do you remember NBA Live?
You know what time it is.
What time is it?
Time for the Hoop Guard!
The Hoop Guard!
Hashtag Hoop Guard.
Oh man, that was so funny. They got his Twitter handle wrong on their screen overlay.
Did they?
Yeah, it was great.
What was it?
They totally fucked him.
The poor guy.
Was it supposed to... Oh, no. I don't care, actually. I just like the fact they got it wrong.
They put the instead of the.
As in
T-H-A.
Yeah. The Hoop Guard.
Someone wasn't up on their street lingo and they were like, the?
Oh, man. So who is the Hoop Guard? What is he?
Apparently he's a community manager of their sports forums or something.
Right. I just assumed he was someone who'd become famous through Twitter or YouTube.
No,
or something,
I think he was just I guess you could be famous as a community manager.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
They do sometimes become quite involved in whatever game they're a part of.
Yeah.
It's just a humble hoop god.
Also, up your swag.
Up your swag, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to up your swag.
Consider my swag up. So,
God damn it.
You guys aware of the phrase swag? Or just in general?
You not be aware of the phrase swag.
I don't know, Zach.
It's been around for many years.
Well, you see, now that you've said it, you're making me question it. So someone define it.
I don't know. Go ahead. What would you say it means?
It's just a contraction of swagger, isn't it? Basically.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It's confusing for British people because swag is what's written on your
loot.
Loot. Yeah, your loot sack.
And to some degree, that could probably still stand up, right?
Still
Upping my swag, you're sort of upping my bling or what I'm wearing, or upping me. So they're desperately trying to recover NBA Live after the last few mistakes and terrible, terrible releases they put out. To the point where one of their bullet points about how great NBA Live 16 will be was, oh yeah, by the way, online is going to work. It was stable and reliable online, and it's because it totally didn't work with 14, whatever the last one was they put out. I mean, I will give them their due. It's a pretty good looking game.
Yeah, pretty good.
Nice animations, the ball physics look pretty great. The collisions and how the players interact with each other, which they made a big deal of, by the way. They were talking about all the animation stuff they've done.
Yeah, they talked. That trailer went on forever with all these little you could do this and this and this, and this. Do it like this.
And then they started talking about specifics of the game that I don't understand.
No, it's all these weird basketball things.
Yeah, and it's okay, you've lost me now.
They're just these a whole bunch of jargon where they're fake pass the punt.
Or whatever it was.
Fake pass the punt.
Yes, that was pretty ridiculous. It got fairly in depth.
I love that.
And weirdly, my notes, I labelled this when it started talking about NBA, I labelled it sports, just like as a separate note.
Sports.
But then suddenly...
They cut away from that.
Yeah, you thought like, okay, NBA, this is the start of the sports. But then after this, they suddenly went, no sports, we're going to talk about something completely different for a minute.
And then they suddenly go, Star Wars, guys, Star Wars. Remember Star Wars?
Yeah, don't forget, 15 minutes until actual Star Wars, but here's some other Star Wars to tide you over.
Yeah, and everyone's like, It's like when they realise what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just like, Which led to the second CCG announcement.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, by the way, CCGs are a thing. We've got the Star Wars license. Let's make a Star Wars CCG for mobile. And didn't explain anything else. They just said it was happening.
And then let's talk forever about Minions on mobile.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, that
went on for way too long.
It went on for way too long, and it's a very unimaginative-looking mobile game.
Yeah, it's a very mobile game.
Yeah, I'm going to build an island. I'm going to wait for shit to build, presumably.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dungeon keeper mobile the shit out of it.
I'm going to send people out to get something and wait for them to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, totally uninspired.
And then if you thought that went on for too long, wait until you see what happens next.
Oh my God. This was the most unexpected pile of crap I think I mean, no disrespect to Pele, who they brought in, but he had absolutely nothing to do with the pitch.
It's just like, basically, the dude on stage, who's presumably from whichever part of EA is making FIFA, because he's English, that's how you can tell.
Yeah.
He comes out on stage and he's like, and now I'm going to interview Pele. And then after he fucking interviews Pele for like 20 minutes, he's like, I just interviewed Pele. Wasn't that really cool? This has nothing to do with the rest of the conference. Fuck it.
Now let's talk about FIFA.
It was totally weird.
So the only reason they get Pele on is like they use it because he supposedly coined the phrase "the beautiful game," which actually, as it turns out from that interview, it proves that he didn't coin that phrase because someone said it to him about American football.
Yeah.
And he was like,
no, it's not.
No, it's soccer. He didn't actually coin the phrase. Whoever he was talking to coined the phrase, and he made it about soccer instead of American football.
Also, it was pretty funny.
The fucking liar!
It was also pretty funny how he basically just shit on American football. Really, like, super badly during that thing.
Really?
Like, well, it was just because he was telling the story about how the guy said American football was the beautiful game, and he was like, no, fuck that, it's soccer. I mean, like, he really shit on the American football a bit. That was quite funny.
I know he's getting on a bit, but...
He rambled.
He rambled quite a lot, yeah.
The old guy rambled.
He must be pretty old.
Yeah, it was quite difficult to hear.
Yep. So yeah, that went on for fucking forever.
And as it turns out, I've got no notes about FIFA, because I didn't care.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, my one just says FIFA. That's it.
Well, actually, the one thing to really note is that this is the first time in FIFA's history that they're bringing in the female teams.
Yeah, but they announced that ages ago.
Yeah, it's not new, but they made a big deal of it again, as they would, and as they should.
Was there any indication that they were sort of annoyed that the brand name for their game is associated with it?
I don't think they touched on that at all.
No. It's kind of weird considering like the Tiger Woods thing, but maybe when it's like the entire fucking governing body, you can give them a bit more leeway than just a guy.
Maybe. Maybe they have no choice. Maybe they're still contracted, I don't know.
Well, yeah, you have to imagine. I mean, I guess the contract is if you're going to make the football game which has the real teams and stuff,
you have to include FIFA in there somewhere, right?
It's a contract with FIFA, regardless of what the fuck they're doing at the moment.
It's not like the PGA licenses Tiger Woods.
No.
So it's...
Although I do wonder how that actually works with the golf, because presumably they have to make a contract with like the PGA Tour, and presumably the PGA Tour has to agree with their choice of athletes.
I'm not sure they do, because EA run competitions, don't they, about all their other games,
like the
NHL and stuff. They have like, who's going to be the player on the box?
Well, that doesn't mean they don't have to like agree at some point.
I guess, yeah. Maybe, yeah.
I mean, not that I imagine it's that much of an issue. It's not like the internet came along and comedy voted for Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Always Tiger Woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of how he's doing. Isn't he sucking?
Yeah, he's really bad at the moment.
Yeah.
He looks real old as well.
He's suddenly aged.
It's bad.
So this was the point where I made a note about the whole conference being totally backwards in terms of its delivery. This is the point where it pissed me off to the point where it's like, okay, no,
this is the 15 minutes to Star Wars.
This is bad, man. And because they did it with Mirror's Edge. Yeah. And I was like, here's like them talking about Mirror's Edge 2, which is now known as Mirror's Edge Catalyst. For about 10 minutes. About imagine a world where shit is going down, and you have no privilege.
Where shit goes down.
I would watch that film. Yeah. They're basically going, you have no privacy, and the corporations are run by this one guy called Kruger or something. Was it Kruger or Kruger?
Corporation is anyway.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Discover the origin story of Faith. So it's a prequel.
God damn it. Which is weird because like.
They didn't solve anything in the first game.
Well, no, but the city looks significantly less white, which is actually kind of weird.
Maybe it's still in transition.
And it's just like, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it just kind of seems weird, even though it makes sense.
And so they did announce some interesting stuff with this, in that it's like the biggest change is that the world is now no longer levels. It's one big sandbox with like no loading pauses between stuff apparently, and it's a big open world now.
Okay, that sort of sounds cool.
Depends
Isn't that good?
I mean, it could be. It depends how well the routes the game makes you take are formed, because that's always the thing with these like courses.
You have to like. That's a lot of work if you're going to make like interesting routes between every building, and they're all going to be different or whatever.
Yeah. And they didn't really actually necessarily go into much about actually how the game plays. So they were talking more about its aesthetic and outside.
I mean, it looks the same.
Yeah.
The jumping and sliding and rolling.
I mean, they did mention that the move to open world does mean they're going to be looking at putting like user-generated courses and stuff into there for time trialing.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But the thing that I came away thinking about all this is not like... it's not like, oh wow, cool, the new Mirror's Edge. It made me think, like, just looking at the visuals and stuff of it and the aesthetic of it, man, the aesthetic of Mirror's Edge 1 was so good that this new one adds nothing. Like, what can they do? Like, there's.
But the aesthetic wasn't what needed improving. Like,
no, sure. But the problem is that that was the one thing that disappointed me. The music they used, not nearly as cool as the music they used to use for all the Mirror's Edge 1 stuff.
Right.
Not nearly as cool. It was somewhat boring sounding stuff. Like, no emotion, no power.
No power.
Not as cool.
And I did hear that, like, no guns that you use, and apparently, like, if you move fast and quick, enough through the world, you become basically vulnerable to bullets.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
So that, in theory, takes away the randomness of trying to play the first game in hard mode, which was proper annoying.
I never even liked doing the melee combat that much. It's like, let me get on.
No, if you can avoid it, it's better that way. That was always the goal, because it slows you down anyway.
Yep. Do you remember there was one bit where you were in a car park?
Yep.
Oh, Christ.
That bit sucked to try and do when you were trying to get the achievement for getting through without doing any gun combat. The achievement for, like, no deaths or not killing anyone. Pacifist or whatever.
Pacifist, yeah.
That fucking car park was a goddamn pain in the ass, because it's just like dudes with machine guns spawn down the other end of the car park, and there's fucking nowhere to hide or anything. It's a giant pain in the ass.
It's not like car parks are exactly ideal for parkour or whatever. Like maybe the top or the roof of it or something, I don't know, but not
Oh, no, sorry, I remember it now. Yes, I'm having flashbacks. Yes, that bit sucked. I didn't also remember, like, the bit where you first come out of the sewers being pretty goddamn difficult.
Yeah.
Because there's people basically everywhere.
Sewers, yeah.
And the whole bulldog level, like that warehouse.
Wow.
Because everyone can see you from pretty much everywhere, and like it's difficult to actually knock out the guy so you can progress. Yeah, there were some sections of that game that were quite flawed.
Anything else?
Yeah.
I mean, the fucking shopping centre wasn't great.
No, I remember that. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully they'll learn those lessons. It seems like they've learned a couple of them, even if it isn't quite as conceptual and cool. Like it may be a more solid game.
Yeah, there was very much something about that first game, like especially that first demo they put out for Mirror's Edge, where it hit all of the right notes. That was a fantastic freaking demo.
The first level.
It was basically the prologue to the game, but man, what an impression that makes.
It was like the one good level.
I guess. Yeah.
Also, the bad guy, like the leader of Kruger or whatever, Mr. Kruger.
Mr. Kruger.
He looked kind of like the EA guy. Like the guy presenting the EA conference.
He did a little bit, yeah. Slimy McKruger.
Yep. Looked kind of like him.
McKruger.
And then that Mirror's Edge came as another random break in the sports section for some reason.
Yeah.
Because then we went back to Madden.
Yeah. Where they made a big deal of their new fantasy football mode, which
they made a big deal of their draft.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you picked this guy, did you?
Yeah, but they make a big deal of the draft, don't they, in America? Yeah. So that makes sense.
So they basically emulated that with some commentator guy or someone who does it for realsies, you know.
Yes.
And you know, in fairness, I suppose if you know your shit about NFL, perhaps that appeals. You know, perhaps the fact that they did that is like, oh, okay, these guys are serious about this. But then, and I was a bit worried that actually, is this just literally a fantasy football mode that they're adding into their game for no reason? But no, it's fantasy leagues, effectively, very short mini seasons that you play online against other players with your draft. So it is actually something new.
It's sort of like Ultimate Team, really.
Yeah.
Basically.
Sort of, yeah. Except a bit more random and a bit more changeable, I guess. Yeah, my note says, not a bad idea, just not amazing. But then what else can you really do with sports games, I guess, in a way?
Well, my note about Madden says, what is with the hit noise? Like, every time they were tackling or whatever, it had like a really excessively ridiculous, like, crunchy noise. I was like, that is weird.
What, like the plastic on plastic of the guards? Or...
Yeah, except like it was like it had been amplified, so it was like it really stood out. I mean, I'm sure that was intentional. They were probably trying to be like, "Oh, big hits," or whatever.
Or is this the new NHL 2K2?
No, I don't think it's quite as hilarious as the.
Yeah. That noise was always great.
That's all going to go away now. Apparently, that's what the news says about American football.
What? No hits.
Well, they're saying that
the hits are like one of the cornerstones of the game.
They said they're basically getting fed up with head impacts.
Sure.
So they're going to do a lot, like trying to get rid of the 3-point stance where like you have one hand on the floor crouched over, that classic stance.
Oh, right.
They want to get rid of that so you can't launch yourself head first at each other.
Right, okay.
And then maybe one day they'll get rid of helmets.
No. That can't happen.
It was a really dumb quote because it's like this guy was like, I think that now that the helmets are so helmety, it's given everyone a false sense of security so they can use their head as a weapon.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's like, that sort of makes sense, but it's still dumb.
I mean, there are moments where you're watching rugby and it's like, sometimes shouldn't these guys be wearing something? But then maybe they'd hurt each other more with the helmets because of the style of game rugby is.
Yeah.
They're having to do this though, right? Because like basically mums aren't letting their kids cause themselves brain damage
and right. Boxing injuries.
Yeah. Somewhat understandable.
So yeah, no more hit noise. Get rid of that. That would be a mandate. It would be like, EA, turn down that hit noise. We don't want to promote tackling.
Yeah.
So then finally,
hey guys, do you know what's coming?
Star Wars in 30 seconds.
It can't help but, like, also, not only is this, like, really obnoxious and, like, spoiling things and, like, also kind of insulting to all the other games that are being shown, but also it's going to produce an inevitable anticlimax, pretty much. Like, you can't, like, how are you supposed to... It's just stupid.
They did a better job with Battlefront than they did with most of the rest of the show.
Well, yeah.
They sort of didn't need to talk a great deal about it.
No.
And then just basically said, well, here's some gameplay.
Yes.
And to which, sorry, wait, what? Gameplay? We haven't actually seen this publicly before.
It's not surprising, though.
Yeah, they kind of had to.
Because it looks like a Battlefield.
Yeah. It looks great.
It looks pretty good.
I mean, yeah, it's not accurate, right?
Well, yeah, that's not how that game is actually going to exist in a real server.
Yeah, I mean, it's bonkers. They've gone for the idea of like there being human players and like Titanfall style minions about. By the looks of it, it didn't look like every player was human.
Yeah, really? Probably.
Maybe.
Because it just seemed like there was a lot more people than you would normally find in a game like that.
Well, it depends. If it's like a 64 players on a 32-player map.
Well, maybe, yeah, unless it's funneled. I don't know. But yeah, man, that was a great looking game. Like, just things about how the blasters look and the sparks and...
Oh, yeah.
How
graphically.
Whoa. Like cheese fact, the Star Wars cheese factor has been retained perfectly. It's great.
I don't think they had quite enough death physics. No. They didn't have people when they die like dramatically throw themselves, which is how you do it in Star Wars.
There was a Wilhelm scream as well.
There was a Wilhelm scream, which was weird.
Yeah.
Why would you use that sound effect? Ever?
Because it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
Did it exist in the original Star Wars?
Yes, it was in the first Star Wars. That one of the reasons it's popular now is because of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, looked super cool. Like gameplay wise, I don't know. Like the that map, you can't tell, can you? I mean, maybe that was specially for the thing, but it kind of looks small. But then to the point where if you were flying a ship. Like the Battlefield maps, you have to turn around quite quickly when you're firing a jet, but at least you have some space on the bigger maps to like fly along for a little bit before you have to turn. It looked on that map like you had to turn around immediately, but they didn't.
Well, I don't know, but then they showed some stuff about the flight combat, and it looked like there's actually quite a large area of the map where people can't go, which is just designed for allowing the flight. Although they didn't make it entirely obvious what the flight combat would be for. What's the purpose? Because Battlefield has that problem, right? If you're in a jet, your only real useful purpose is to take out the choppers. Because the jets are kind of rubbish at taking out ground targets.
Yeah.
Or at least it's incredibly difficult to do that. If you're good, you can do it. But
well, actually, in like Battlefield 3 and 4, the point of the jets was to take out the A-10.
I guess
you had to be the counter to the tank killers,
but it's not always on the A-10's not always in the game.
No, not always.
But in this, it's like if you're in a TIE fighter, it looks like you can shoot people up, right? I guess.
I guess, but it didn't really show that. They just they were just having a battle against each other, and then an interceptor turned up at one point.
Yeah, like the actual vehicles involved was a bit strange, wasn't it? Because was it like snowspeeders versus TIE fighters at one point? I can't remember.
At one point, yeah.
That's a bit strange. Like that definitely doesn't happen, but I mean it could, I guess. It's fine. I mean it's cool, I guess. Like driving the AT-AT looked kind of fun.
Yeah,
obviously. I thought that AT-AT looked weirdly small. Like when it fell over, I was like, those guys look a bit big compared to that thing.
Yeah. I think
there's maybe like 3 people in that cockpit head part, isn't there?
Yeah.
With room as well.
Yeah, with quite a lot of room.
Around. Yeah, because you can
control panels and shit.
Yeah, I think it's scaled down slightly, but I don't know. It looked pretty impressive when it fell over and stuff. I don't know. How's it going to translate to?
Well, it's like what were they all expecting to do after it fell over and they all walked up to it? Like, what's the next phase of that?
I don't know.
Yeah, because normally they fall over and then someone shoots them and they blow up.
Yeah,
it's like when you were playing that battle pod, right? Like they tripped them up and then they had you shoot them in the head or something, didn't it? And they just explode, or something else happened to cause them to explode as you flew through its debris.
I mean, you'd think logically in the Battlefield game, presumably the AT-AT actually has a spawn point in it, like it's a troop carrier, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd think so.
That's the whole point of the goddamn thing.
Maybe not. Maybe they found that wasn't a worthwhile mechanic. But then again,
but then why does it exist at all? It's so goddamn slow. It can call an orbital strike, which is like it already has lasers on it. Why does it?
Yeah. And the orbital strike doesn't make any sense because the whole point of the story is like the only reason it's there is because the orbital strike can't get through the shields.
Yeah, and also like in the background, like in the skybox of that level, there's a Star Destroyer, and it's like, so which other Star Destroyer is still in space that's firing this orbital strike? Because there's one right there.
To be fair, there is like a whole fleet. Right, in the story. So,
but none of them went into the atmosphere.
No, definitely not. Well, they can't, can they? I don't think they can operate in the atmosphere.
I think Star Destroyers can. The
can
small
they?
ones.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
And
then Jedi, Return of the Jedi era, Luke Skywalker appears at Hoth and
that was weird.
Mysteriously does
dressed in completely the wrong clothes.
Yeah.
Like what?
And there's a fight with Vader, of course. Because why wouldn't you?
Because Vader was there as well.
Yeah.
Only he wasn't.
Vader was there on Hoth.
Well, eventually, yes.
After they'd already won the battle.
That's the thing. I think the Jedi are like super weapons.
They're like a special spawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on board. I think it looks great.
I think it looks fun. I think it could be. It needs Battlefield needs a little bit of a refresh in turn. Like
I got really bored of the last 4, really, and because 4 wasn't as good as 3. You know,
it had bad levels. That was it.
Yeah. So if the levels are good, that is the key thing. Like that level doesn't necessarily look that good to play. I don't know. It looked great for a demonstration, but maybe it was just for that awesome demo where everything fit together in a sequence. Do you think that?
So we're talking about the other. I mean, we could skip ahead and talk about the other showings of Battlefront.
I mean, how many?
Really, that much?
I mean, they showed a different level. They showed. Are they
sort of adding multiple levels per planet? Right? Are they? No.
Presumably, yeah.
Because there's only like a few planets, right? So you'd hope they'd have. Okay. I think it was a cool demo, that's for sure.
Depends if there's just this one mode or if there are other modes thrown in.
Well, I mean, there is. If we are going to talk about the other showing, there is the other mode, which is a co-op wave-based survival thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But that's not multiplayer.
No.
I mean, it's co-op, which is technically multiplayer.
It's a horde mode.
Yes.
And we still don't know how the frickin'
it's horde mode.
how the speeder bikes are going to actually.
No, they still haven't showed that.
No.
Because that must be like, imagine if you're a game designer, how are you supposed to solve that problem? How are you going to make that cool?
Make them slow.
No, but then they'd be shit.
Yeah, they're not speeder bikes, they're trundle bikes. Trundle bikes. And that was it. That was the EA show, which immediately raises one question.
What the fuck are Criterion doing?
Exactly.
Because they didn't even show what they showed last year.
Yeah. No sign from Criterion at E3 at all. Breaking all our predictions.
They'll be back one day.
My ears open.
Well, maybe.
It's all died.
Hold on a minute. One thing. Is it EA? No. Who would it be? I was just thinking there was some news that I think we didn't talk about last time, but we were actually speculating on it about a day before the news came out, I think, which was we were talking about XCOM 2 and what they would do. And like way before E3, they announced it.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We covered that on our...
No, we were just speculating on it.
No,
you
weren't there, Dan.
Yeah, Zach and I talked about it on our cast, our extra cast.
Pre-E3 cast.
Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't get to talk about it. Okay, cool. Okay, never mind.
But yes, it happened. Yeah, that's cool.
Never mind. Who is Firaxis' publisher?
It was 2K.
Yeah,
2K
usually.
Okay, fine.
I mean, they could probably self-publish at this point if they wanted.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, that's EA. We should take a break so that...
so we can go get food, yes, I agree.
And return with further Sony-age and Nintendo-age.
We're only 3 conferences in, and we've got Sony, Nintendo, Squeenix, and AMD, Ubisoft, and the PC event still to do.
I told you, 6 hours.
It's a long one.
Right, well, I'm definitely going to go to bed before that, so... Cool, okay.
I think us skipping ahead and talking about stuff as we first encounter it seems to be working to our advantage, I think, for some of that.
Cool. Okay. A pause will be inserted here, and maybe there'll be some pause music? I don't know.
No, it'll just be a separate podcast, as usual.
Yeah, I think I'm going to split the cast at this point.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for joining us, listeners. Simply press play on the next one to carry on with more thoughts on E3 2015. Bye. But yeah, I mean, stuff, whatever, like whatever, and stuff. I don't know. It's fine. I mean, it's cool, I guess. Like, was it? No.